Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing. And in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say,
He's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowd. It's the size of the school. Their fancy uniforms. And remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the difference between winning and losing.
It's down to the wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, Long Island, New York, and around the country. This is Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Errol Marks, and my co-host, Mr. Speedy Petey. Remember, you can listen to us every single day, and you can check us out on our website by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You can call us at 631-965-4990. Again, it's 631-965-4990. You can also do this. You can go to our app. How do you download our app? You go to iOS, which is WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can check out our articles. You can read all the different stories that we have. You can watch the clips of our shows. You can listen to our shows live on our app right at your fingertips for all ages. So it's very easy to use. It's definitely friendly. So anyways, how are you doing over there, Speedy? Obviously, you're not here in the studios because of the snowstorm we're having here in Long Island. What's going on?
Yeah, just really surviving the storm. I had a very, not great. Huh?
You said surviving the storm. Are you going to die?
Well, I hope not, but who knows at the rate this is going. It's been still going where I am. It seems like.
Are you afraid of the snow? Is it going to burn you to death? Or is it going to just melt you to death? Is that what you're afraid of? Because anybody that comes out while I'm surviving the storm, what are you doing? You don't drive. So what makes you survive this storm?
Well, I will say this. I mean, that kind of defeats the purpose of the snow when you're saying, is it going to burn me? I mean, that's kind of ironic in itself.
So you're the one who said that you're going to survive the storm. There's nothing to survive on this storm. And by the way, all the people out there here in Long Island, throughout the New York metropolitan area, please, if you are not going to work or you're not a nurse, you're not a doctor, you're not working in a hospital, or you're not doing anything of that magnitude, stay inside. It is dangerous outside. And half you people don't know how to drive anyways. So to put anybody more at risk driving in that weather, well, you're just really upsetting not only the people that are driving on the road that actually knows how to drive, it's the people that don't know how to drive that's going to kill you. So please, if you're not driving to a specific place or a place that you need to go to work, stay home, stay safe, and be safe. That's all I'm going to say. That is my advice. But all in all, I actually like the snow. I love the cold weather. I love the snow. The one thing I don't like is driving in it. It is absolutely horrendous. And by the way, I get my panties up in a bunch when I do. So you say that you sometimes do the show cold turkey. You don't wear any underwear. Well, this is the perfect time not to wear any underwear. What? I'm sorry?
I did once in my house where I had pajamas on because I couldn't get into the shower before the show. That was the reason.
Oh, you did command. You actually did a show, Commando, because you didn't have time to put on any underwear. Is that what you're saying?
I couldn't get in the shower when I was at my house over the holiday break because my brothers were in there, and then I had to set up for the guests. So I didn't have time. So I just left my pajamas on. Oh,
that's just a damn excuse for everything, Speedy. Anyways, I want to. By the way, at 6:30, we will be talking to DFS. Sheet content contributor, Chris DeBacker is right. Am I right? DeBaker or DeBacker? DeBacker. And at 7:15, we'll be talking to founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond. So is he James Bond's brother?
Maybe you can ask him that. That'll be your first question.
I don't think that's going to be the first question. But anyways, we have a great show lined up for you guys today. I do want to get into this whole Matthew Stafford trade. Now, when I heard this trade, I really thought that the Rams were going to get 2 first-round draft picks for this move. Now, Matthew Stafford is 33 years old. Now, I still think Matthew Stafford has another 3-4 years good years left. Over the last couple of years playing for a terrible organization like the Lions, ever since you can say Megatron has retired, this team offensively has not been as explosive as we've seen when Megatron was there. With the weapons they had with Golden Tate and Jones, this was a prolific offense when the great Megatron was there. But ever since Johnson has retired, this team has not been as good or as potent offensively without him. Now, over the last couple of years with Matt Patricia was an overrated coach when he went over there. The fact that they fired a coach that was definitely more capable of being a successful offensive-minded team than a guy like Matt Patricia, who is a scientist / defensive coordinator, made absolutely no sense. But we all know that the Detroit Lions are one of the worst teams in the NFL when it comes to hiring and firing coaches and deciding what players should they keep and what players should they trade. So when you heard this trade come out to the public and you heard that Matthew Stafford was going to get traded to the Rams, you didn't think that the Rams were going to trade away practically their whole team. Now, giving up, and the Rams are known to give up first-round draft picks. Look what they gave up for Jalen Ramsey. They gave up 2 first-round draft picks. Over the years, they've always just thrown away first-round draft picks like they didn't mean anything. But Sean McVay with this team and this organization moving the way they are, they're a win-now team. With Woods there, with the weapons that they have there, they need to find themselves a running back because they had no running game this year. And I know Gurley is not the same player he once was when he signed with Atlanta this offseason, but Gurley would have been better with anything they've had throughout this past year. Now, Ecker had played well this year. He did. He was a very good rookie running back, but he's a guy, I would say until he proves to me that he could be a number 1 option, you need at least a good number 2 or a top end number 1 option. And this was the problem with the Rams all season long, except maybe at the end of the season when Eckerd really started to show that he was going to be a dangerous player. But Matthew Stafford getting traded for 2 first-round draft picks, Jared Goff, who's 25, 26, You're getting a quarterback that's about 7 or 6 years younger than Matthew Stafford, who was the number 1 pick in the draft. What was it, 4 years ago? He got a big time contract. We all know what he got. I think he got a $130 million contract. So the Rams had to add this to the trade. I don't know if they were going to trade Jared Goff to the Lions, but it was kind of like an add-on because of the contract dispute. And really the fact that Matthew Stafford is still under a contract, giving up 2 first-round draft picks and a 3rd-round pick from this year, I think that was too much for a guy like Matthew Stafford. No, I think Matthew Stafford could be an MVP candidate this year, especially how good this offense is going to be this year. Matthew Stafford was a better arm than Jared Goff, and I think is more accurate than Jared Goff is. You look at the big picture and you kind of compare and contrast their numbers. They're not too far-fetched from one another. They're really not. Now, I could say that Matthew Stafford, if he was on a top team like the Rams, or he was on a top team like, I don't know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or a good offensive-minded team, the Tennessee Titans, maybe Matthew Stafford would be amongst the league's best offensive quarterbacks in the league. Over the last, I would say, 10 to 12 years, Matthew Stafford, numbers-wise, when this was a good offensive team, the Lions, he was a top 6, top 7 quarterback in the league. Now you're bringing him over there to the Rams. The Rams, they're a win-now team with Arnold there. Well, I'm sorry, Aaron Donald there. And obviously the weapons that they have, the offensive players that they have, the veterans that they have over there. Their offensive line is about 80 years old. I mean, this is an old offensive line. And you have to look at the big picture right now with the Rams. If Sean McVay doesn't win a Super Bowl in the next year, he's going to be fired. As good as Sean McVay is offensively and how great offensive-minded coach that he is, even Kyle Shanahan, if Kyle Shanahan doesn't win a championship in 2 years, he's going to be fired from San Francisco. It doesn't matter how good and how prolific you are offensively. It's all about winning Super Bowls. It's all about winning championships. And by the way, the Rams went to a Super Bowl 2 years ago and got blown out by the New England Patriots. And what I mean by blown out, not on the scoreboard, but their offense completely got destructed by a defense that was overrated. So, and that was the number 1 offensive team. The Rams were the number 1 offensive team in the league. So I look at the Rams right now. Sean McVay made a big play. This is a big play. And Matthew Stafford, as good as he is on paper and what he is and what we've seen Matthew Stafford to be in the past, Matthew Stafford has not been at the top of his game in over 3 years. And now you're looking and sending him over there to the Rams. And I think the Lions absolutely fleeced the Rams. Absolutely fleeced them. You got a 3rd-round draft pick this year. You got a 1st-round draft pick next year. And I think you have another 1st-round draft pick the year after that. So now you put your team in a win-now situation. And to me, when you look at Sean McVay, Speedy, I can honestly say that if Sean McVay doesn't go all the way to the Super Bowl, and I've listened to all the different shows, Sharp and obviously Skip Bayless saying that he's going to be an MVP candidate. I heard what obviously Stephen A. Smith said, putting him with Sean McVay, you're going to have one of the most prolific offenses in the league. They were one of the most prolific offenses with Jared Goff there. It wasn't offense that screwed them in the playoffs. It was the defense. It was what the defense did in the second half of the game that cost him that game. So you can say whatever you want. Going into the playoffs, going into the season next year, they are a must playoff team and they're a must Super Bowl contender. And if they're not, Sean McVay, after giving up 2 first-round draft picks, your future quarterback of your organization in Jared Goff, who was statistic-wise, has been in the top 7 in the league for the last 3 seasons, and a defense that was the number 1 defense going to the playoffs that lost against the New York Jets at the end of the season. So they're a must-win team this year.
I think it's interesting because we've seen Les Snead do crazy trades. Starting in 2017, they really replenished a lot of that old defense that Jeff Fisher built, a lot of great draft picks, and he replenished that with the offensive players that McVay has now. And we saw it last year too, where they traded 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. They traded a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks for whatever reason, who knows why. So we've seen Les Snead pull off these crazy trades and then make it work with late-round picks. So I'm not going to bash it as much as probably I would have a year ago. I think probably when you look at the trade, it's kind of fair both ways. I think Detroit did better than anyone expected.
The trade was fair. You gave up 2 first-round draft picks for a 33-year-old. 2 first-round draft picks. You're talking if Jared Goff, if Matthew Stafford was Jared Goff's age, or a DeShaun Watson, okay? DeShaun Watson is going to be 26 in the beginning of the season start. Then you give up 2 first-round draft picks and maybe a Matthew Stafford and a third-round draft pick for a guy like DeShaun Watson. When you're giving up a quarterback, you're giving up 2 first-round draft picks, a quarterback that's 26, 27 years old, who was an MVP candidate maybe 2 years ago, and went to a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and then give up a third-round draft pick this year. To me, you got fleeced. That wasn't a fair trade. Are you crazy?
See, the reason I still think it is, though, is because the Rams have made things work with later-round picks. You saw it this year, the way they rebuilt that defense, losing a lot on defense the year before. Remember, in the Ramsey trade, they also had to sacrifice Peter to the Ravens and Talib to the Dolphins in order to make that work. And yet they still had a very good defense. Now, Brandon Staley's not there anymore. He now is the head coach of the Chargers, so that can make a big difference in that. But I trust them to make that kind of thing work. If McVay thinks Stafford is the guy, and he has a lot of leverage with this organization because he's the best coach they've had in a long, long time, that's going to make a difference in that sense. Detroit, I think, did well in the sense where they got 2 first round.
So you gave up 4 first-round draft picks in the last 3 years for 2 players. One that's 33 years old and one that doesn't shut up. That's what you did. You gave away your future for a quarterback that's 33 years old, who's injury prone, can't stay on the field, never can. He has a broken finger. He's got a broken ass bone, whatever it is. The guy can't stay on the field. So you're giving up your future for a guy that could get hurt in the beginning of the season and cost your team a chance to make the playoffs. And I don't care what Sean McVay says. And you could say whatever you want to know. You want to say that it's an even trade. It wasn't an even trade, because if you look at the big picture of where the Rams are, what are the Rams going to do with their future? This is a win-now team that doesn't have a future. They don't have a future anymore. They gave it up for Matthew Stafford and Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey that completely disappeared against the Green Bay Packers. Okay? That's a huge problem.
Here's the thing, though. I thought that last year, too, and they had a lot of young players on that defensive side of the ball, especially, that played very well. And you mentioned before, Cam Akers. Cam Akers didn't really get a lot of reps in the first half of the season because he was dealing with injuries. And then in the second half, he was very, very good.
But he's not a number one yet. Until proven he's not a number one. He's not.
Maybe he's not, but running backs are always the deepest position in college football. You can always get later in the draft. You rarely see running backs drafted in the first round now. So if Akers does have that problem, or they want to complement him with a power back, I still think they can do that. And Les Snead has done a good job hitting on these second, third, these later round picks that have made a difference for this team. That's why they were in the playoffs this year. The reason they made a difference.
So the
stars are the stars.
So hold on one second. So you're betting on what Snead did the last couple of years, giving up 2 first-round draft picks and saying, you know what, who cares? It's just the first round. We still have a second-round draft pick. We did give up a third-round pick. You're not going to have a first. You're not going to have a first, and you're not going to have a third-round draft pick this year because of Jalen Ramsey. And a third pick this year because of that trade for Matthew Stafford. So you have 1 pick in the first 4 rounds, first 3 rounds. That is not good. That is not good. That doesn't position your team even moving forward this year, especially a team that's really salary capped all the way to the top, because you're paying Aaron Donald a slew of money and you're giving Jalen Ramsey a slew of money.
Yeah, but also you got to keep in mind, too, Jared Goff's contract, I don't know about if it was for this year, but per year, it was actually larger than Stafford. So they actually get a little bit back because of that. And also, I think because they didn't have the other draft picks, they can kind of surrender that part of it and continue to stick to going all in. And again, McVay is the one who's going to have influence in this. If he wanted Stafford, he wanted Stafford. Now, there's rumors coming out that they were trying to get Aaron Rodgers too, which I don't think.
Yeah, that came out. Yes. That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen.
That was not going to happen.
I do believe Green Bay would be interested in trading somebody like Aaron Rodgers, but a team's going to have to give up practically their future for Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking about giving up possibly 4 first-round draft picks because Aaron Rodgers puts you right now in position to be a Super Bowl contender next year. If you land Aaron Rodgers, the MVP of this year, and to me has been the best quarterback in the league for the last 10 seasons, you add Aaron Rodgers to your roster, you're already a predominant Super Bowl contender. So you're going to have to give a slew of players for that type of player. You're giving up 3 first-round draft picks and a third for Matthew Stafford, who's 33 years old and hasn't proven anything in 3 years. And now you're talking about DeShaun Watson. Everybody says, does this affect the Jets or any of these teams interested in going after DeShaun Watson? And the answer is no, because DeShaun Watson has a no-trade clause. he could decide where he wants to go. And if he doesn't want to play for the Texans, he can sit out for the whole season and collect money. Yes, he'll probably be fined by the organization. He's still making millions and millions of dollars. So does this trade affect DeShaun Watson going to the Jets and maybe the Jets not giving up 3 or 4 first-round draft picks? Honestly, no, because DeShaun Watson is going to have his choice on where he wants to go. And those teams, that organization is going to have the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm not giving up more than two first-round draft picks, a player or a defensive player, and maybe a 3rd or 4th round pick for DeShaun Watson. That's all I'm giving up. And if they're not going to accept it, we're not making the trade. And DeShaun Watson holds really the whole list of where he wants to go. If he says he just wants to be a Jet, well, guess what? They're forced to trade him to the Jets. And no matter what the Jets offer him, they're going to have to make that move because they don't want their star quarterback sitting in the offseason, not having any offseason workouts with the team, and then going into the season not up to par where this offense is.
Yeah, I agree with you where the circumstances are completely different with Watson and Rodgers and Stafford, all 3 of them. Stafford was kind of that second-tier guy that wanted out of Detroit. Jared Goff and Sean McVay, whatever they had feuding with each other this season, that tarnished that relationship. So yeah, I agree with you in that sense. Going back though to the value with the Rams though, Stafford, I think, in terms of that was really all they could get. So they really had to peak at that point. I don't think they had enough for Watson. I don't think they had enough for Rodgers anyway. That would have taken a ton. And the Packers, if they were whatever reason wanted to trade Rodgers, I don't get it, but they wanted to trade Rodgers. They were going to peak. And same thing with Watson. They're going to try the best value and they should try the station as possible with all that. So I don't think the Rams were in the market for them. So they tried their best to push for the offer they can. And because they have the other young, talented players on this team, I think they could afford to at that point. So I don't think it was as bad as people think on paper. You could say the Lions maybe slightly won the trade. I think they did well too.
You're wrong. And by the way, Michael Geiger says they were 2 of the top players in the league, and I would pay him. It's not about the money. That's fine. Those 2 top players couldn't get you over the hump. Those 2 players couldn't get you to the Super Bowl. Those 2 players couldn't get you to the NFC title game. So to me, paying 2 players that type of money, you better hope that they're going to take you over the mountain, over the wall. And that's the problem. I don't care how good a guy like Donald is, and I don't care how good Jalen Ramsey is. In the big game, they didn't show up. They didn't. Jalen Ramsey didn't show up. He couldn't stop Devontae Adams. And Aaron Donald is, to me, the best defensive player in the league. But in certain games, he completely disappears in. So, again, yes, they're great players. But again, you're looking at a guy like Matthew Stafford. I don't give up 2 first-round draft picks, a Jared Goff, and a 3rd-round draft pick for 1 player. That's what you got. You got 1 player, a player that's 33 years old, and in the last 3 seasons, every single year has had an injury. Every single year. Go look at how many games he's played. How many games he's played in the last 3 years. He hasn't played a full season yet in the last 3 years. I don't think he played 1 full season in the last 3 seasons. So
you're also the injuries have been there for the most part too, and the Lions are in the playoffs at that point, so there's no point in playing him. And the Lions, he's also frustrated with the Lions organization too, so he was kind of holding out on them in certain instances too. I think playing with the Rams now, I think if it in those kinds of minds where he had to play through that kind of pain with his hand or his finger or his shoulder or something like that was minor, he would do it in that case. I think he still was frustrated, kind of like Megatron, like you were saying earlier, with the Lions organization. That's why he didn't play those extra games.
That's not why Matthew Stafford wanted out of there. That's not why Matthew Stafford wanted out of the Lions. Matthew Stafford wanted out from the Lions because the organization didn't listen to him, just like the Texans did with DeShaun Watson. Over the last couple of years, they brought in the coaches that they wanted. Matt Patricia did not work out. And by the way, everybody keeps saying that Matthew Stafford did not want to go to the New England Patriots. He didn't have a no-trade clause. Okay, so if New England wanted to make a move for Matthew Stafford and they were going to be willing to give up 3 first-round draft picks and whoever they were going to give involved with that trade, he would have went to New England no matter what. So I know there was a post that said the only team that was really interested in Matthew Stafford, really, if you look at it, the Rams bet against themselves. They bet against themselves. They give up 2 more first-round draft picks that I wouldn't have given up for a guy like a Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew Stafford is a little bit better than Jared Goff. How much better than Jared Goff? I don't know about that. And Jared Goff is a better player outside the pocket. Matthew Stafford is a prolific pocket present quarterback. He doesn't really run inside and outside of the pocket. You're taking that away from your offense. Now, Jared Goff is not a prolific running mobile quarterback, but he's a guy that can actually move inside and outside of the pocket and make throws on the run. I think Matthew Stafford's more of a pocket present quarterback, like an Eli Manning, like a Tom Brady, like one of those guys that can make the plays inside the pocket, or Phillip Rivers. So I don't know if that's going to help their offense. Now, offensively, in the running back position that they need to be looking at this offseason, there are guys that are going to be available. Aaron Jones being one of them. That's a guy that you could absolutely look at, that you could put as your number one guy. You have Ecker as your number two guy. Then you have something to talk about. Then you have a prolific offense that you need to win a Super Bowl. But right now, even adding Matthew Stafford, are you that much favored to come out of the NFC this year, going into next year? The answer is no. That doesn't make you that much better of a team, adding Matthew Stafford, and you gave up 2 first-round draft picks and a third for it.
Yeah, again, at this point, I will. You're right. On paper, it looked good, but because of them making that other trade, you're kind of committing to one thing or the other. And with the other trade you made with the superstar, you're kind of in too deep anyway. You might as well sacrifice that and keep going. And if Sean McVay thinks Stafford is the guy for his offense, the best fit for his offense that was realistically available, don't mind it in that sense. If Les Snead didn't do what he did last year, I agree with you. I wouldn't trust it, but now you have a little more trust in terms of what they can do. Hopefully the defense, the same kind of thing with Brendan Staley. That's the one thing that worries me, him not being there now, but he was a first-year guy too, so maybe they'll make it work.
Michael Geiger says that they're a top 3 team right now in the NFC. Do you think they're a top 3 adding Matthew Stafford? Honestly. Honestly,
that's tough because I think Tampa.
Yes or no? It's a yes or no question.
Talent-wise, I think. Yeah, I would probably say so.
You're out of your
maybe
mind.
Tampa,
What are
maybe
you
the
drinking?
49ers.
What are you drinking? You're out of your. You adding one player, and you're a top 3 team right now in the NFC. There are so many teams that have so much money right now going in the offseason, can make their team that much better. And you're telling me adding one player, which you gave up 2 first-round draft picks, your starting quarterback of your future, and a third-round pick this year, where you have no first and no third this year. You're going to tell me they're a Super Bowl contender and a top 3 team right now in the NFC? What are you drinking? I don't know what you're drinking, but maybe you should send it to me because I need some.
Saints, Buccaneers, I would say when healthy 49ers, but I can't trust them to stay healthy, so that's the only thing. So
And
the
we
Rams
don't,
would be 4th if you want.
we don't even know who the Saints quarterback's going to be. It could be Sam Darnold. It could be Teddy Bridgewater if they let him go over there in Carolina. Who knows who's going to be the starting quarterback? Maybe they somehow move up and get a quarterback. So you can't even argue those points on who's going to be good and who's going to be bad in the NFC. I could tell you this right now. For you to come out and say that one player is going to change an organization and a thought of where the organization is going to go, especially when that organization and that defense in the big game they really couldn't prove themselves in a big game against a Green Bay Packer team that completely played like crap in the second half against, to me, well, really in the first half against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that practically gave them the opportunity to go to Super Bowl, and a team that really doesn't play well in the big game. And both teams, the Rams and the Green Bay Packers, I can't bet on them in the big game because to me, both teams in the big game have completely splashed. Aaron Rodgers in the NFC title game, and a few years ago with Jared Goff being one of the best quarterbacks in the league, an MVP candidate, threw more yards than any quarterback in the league, go to the Super Bowl and threw up a dud. So to me, you're looking at the Rams, as good as Matthew Stafford is on paper and what we've seen over the years, where I think Matthew Stafford statistically is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't trust that this kid's going to stay healthy, and I don't trust that giving up 4 first-round draft picks for 2 players in the last 3 years is going to solidify this team to be a top 3 team in the NFC. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, at 6:30, we're past 6:30, 6:32. In just a few moments, we will be talking to DFS cheat sheet content contributor Chris DeBacker here on the great Down to the Wire. You like that, Speedy? Am I good on that? Am I good? You like that? I know your sound over there is completely outrageous, but when we come back, we will have Chris DeBacker here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards. and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Yes! A little Michael Jackson, P-Y-T, pretty young and tempting. That's something that Speedy isn't. That's for damn sure. As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You could also download our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or Android. Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Who doesn't like Michael Jackson? I love Michael Jackson. And Speedy, I wonder if Speedy could do the moonwalk, but we know he does the Rockette kicks. That's for damn sure. He's not one of the best dancers, that's for sure. But anyways, we might have a good dancer on right now, our special guest. We'll see. As you guys know, we are now talking to DFS cheat sheet content contributor, Chris DeBacker. What's going on, Chris?
Nothing. Thanks so much for having me. And no, I cannot dance. Do I like dance music and MJ? Of course. I'm in my mid-30s. I cannot dance, though, so I don't try. Get a few drinks in me, sure, but it's probably still trash, boys.
Well, I will say this. I am a very good dancer. I don't blow my toot horn up, but I can dance and I can break. So, unfortunately, my partner in crime over there, my producer, who's not in the production end right now because of this snowstorm we're having in New York, he's not much of a dancer and a terrible dancer, to say the least. But how are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
Well, I'm great, thank you. My father, my late father, died a few years ago. Only child, so it's just me and my mother. Long-term girlfriend of mine, and one of my cats, Beastie, and she's doing great. So everybody's well. I got my first round of the vaccination on Saturday, so got to wait another month. But thank you. I'm doing well, and everybody I know is doing well. Thankfully.
That's plus. That's a plus, especially looking at Speedy's face all the time. I mean, that makes me sick as it is. But anyways, Chris, tell us a little bit about your organization and what made you decide to create DFS cheat sheet content contributor. What do you do, and what is it? What is it? You know, what is the business? Tell us a little bit about the business.
Sure. DFS Cheat Sheet is it's a website for daily fantasy sports, FanDuel, DraftKings. It was created in, I believe, 2012, 2013, and it's absolutely taken off. That's all people are talking about nowadays. There's optimizers. Any site you go to, you got to pay a premium to get lineups and things along those lines. So I would say all the way back to 2013, I got into it. Hockey's always been my first love, being here in Detroit, aka Hockey Town. Not so much lately, but we'll get back there. So I was always playing DFS, mainly hockey and baseball, and I just couldn't find excuse me, the content that I wanted. It just wasn't out there. So I said, you know what? I'll make my own way. I'll just make my own content, and that's where we are now. I can't tell you how many times I reached out to bigger websites, on Twitter, on whatever, email, and it was a ghost town. No one got back to me, and it pissed me off so much. I said, you know what? I'm going to make my own content, and I'm going to pride myself on getting back to anybody and everybody that reaches out to me. So here we are, boys.
So you mentioned you do a lot with hockey, both with DFS and also with fantasy. It's a very unique type of season for hockey, 56 games, all divisional play with the line divisions. So how does that impact the strategy with different positions, both for DFS and also, we were talking about it before the show, with goalies specifically, a lot of goalie platoons this year. How does that impact that kind of strategy?
Yeah, as pull the curtain back a little bit, I guess. Before we went live, we were talking like in a pre-interview, let's say, right? And I said, you know what? Like the first month, normally in the hockey season, the first 2 weeks, bam, these guys are off and running. They're trained. That's all they do, 24/7, 365. And as it stands now, we're almost in. We've almost crossed the hump, the first month of the season, and they're still trying to figure things out with lineup combinations, starting goalies, things along those lines. So it's taken a little bit longer to get off and running. So in terms of DFS, we constantly have to check our lineups, update stuff, find a website like DFS Cheat Sheet, DME, whatever you want to do. I'd like to think I know what's going on, and the prices, they're priced right, and we're just getting off the ground here in terms of hockey. But once we start cooking, things are going to be wild and things are going to be fun.
We are talking to DFS Cheat Sheet content contributor Chris DeBacker. Now, Chris, you were putting your thumbs down when we were talking about the Rams and this trade with Matthew Stafford. What were your thoughts when you heard this trade? Did you think that the Rams got completely robbed in this trade, or do you think the Lions were that much smarter than an organization than the Rams were?
Well, if I may say so, right? I'm in Detroit, diehard Lions fan. Like I said, I'm in my mid-30s. All I've known is Barry Sanders, Kelvin Johnson, and the Lions not making the playoffs and losing. So while I was on hold listening to you guys, the butterfly started going in my stomach here. I knew right away you were from New York. That loud, arguing sports talk radio, that it excites me so much. So I was doing the thumbs down, trying to get your guys' attention because I wanted to hop in with you so bad. So to answer, long-winded way to answer your question, I love the trade for the Lions. Of course, why wouldn't I? What you said was on point. You get rid of a Stafford who was on the wrong side of 30, and you trade him in for Jared Goff. Well, if you've noticed on social media the last week, social media is very toxic to begin with, and then when you get a trade like Stafford and Goff, people will fight to the death. Goff is better here, but Stafford. It's just break it down to a simple context. One guy started in the Super Bowl. The other guy hasn't even won a playoff game. And look, I love Stafford. He's done a whole heck of a lot here for the city. His wife, his kids, they're great people. I wish him the best, but it's time to move on. So you get Jared Goff, who I've always been a fan of. He's been a great fantasy quarterback for me for a few seasons now. Again, he's younger. Would we say, I think I heard you say he's a little bit more mobile, a little bit more athletic, sure. But people will always point to the bad decisions, or the guy can't run for a first on 3rd and 8. He just can't get over the sticks on 3rd down. But it's okay. Jared Goff is going to be okay. It looks to me, after reading all this for the last few days since the trade broke, Stafford was bummed out. He was upset, didn't want to be here. I think he absolutely hated Matt Patricia. It goes to show you were talking about he did not want to go to the Patriots. He doesn't want anything to do with that fatso. The guy, Patricia, was a horrible person. He put people down, called people, grown men in the locker room. He talked down to them. He looked down on them. So Stafford just wanted to get out of here, change the scenery. He's been in Detroit, 11 years? He wanted to get out. I've been in here for 35 years, and I haven't left yet. But so you get Jared Goff in, fresh face, fresh situation. I'm sure we all saw the graphic or the quote where it said, I'm happy to go somewhere where I'm wanted, where they need me. It's kind of like a bad breakup with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, whatever. So Goff is going to come here to Detroit. He's going to be rosy-eyed and something cheek, bushy-tailed and wide-eyed. Goff is going to be, and he's going to be okay. And I love the idea of the Detroit Lions, they have a ton. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. The Lions have a ton of positive options here. I can't tell you the last time the Lions had anything positive going on, let alone all these options. And it's fantastic. From draft selections, do they use golf, to bridge the gap for a couple seasons while they, maybe wait to 2023 in the first round to take a quarterback. That way you can load up where you need it the most, and that's defense here in Detroit. You load up this year, you load up next year, and Jared Goff's not going to kill you at quarterback. He's going to be okay. Option number 2, let's say, they decide to draft the kid from BYU, Zach Smith, who I absolutely love. Trey Lance is a good one, too. Let's say they bring in the kid from BYU. That's all he knows. Zach Wilson, played quarterback his whole life. You still have Jared Goff to bridge the gap. Right. Like it or not, Goff, as I said, he has major professional football quarterbacking ideals, and he started a Super Bowl, for God's sakes. That is invaluable for a young kid like Smith to come in here. Normally the Lions, they would draft a kid in the first round, and then bam, they throw him to the Wolves. He gets killed, and they beat him up, and he's out of town in 2 or 3 years. So I love the idea of
John Kitna.
Yeah, Stafford. See, that's why I think Stafford is such a good man. He's a warrior. He's tough as nails. He could have just folded up camp and said, you know what, I want to split after year 3, 4, and 5. But he gutted it out because he genuinely is a good man. He's tough as nails, and he's a good football player. So to my original point, I would absolutely love if the Lions put off drafting a quarterback. Work on everything else. Quarterback will be the last piece of the puzzle because you have a young guy. Jared Goff, I believe, is what, guys? 26, 27 years old?
26,
yeah. I mean, he's yet to hit his prime. Or I know I keep harping on the Super Bowl thing, but it just proves my point where you're going to be okay at quarterback for at least 2 or 3 years. So in the meantime, build the defense, do what you want. And the idea of this new, the new GM, the new head coach, all this new coaching staff, it seems to me as it stands now, they have a clear plan in place for the long-term prospects here in Detroit. And that's what's most exciting. So any way you slice it, wait on a quarterback, draft one now, let Goff watch over the kid. Whatever it is, they're all positive outcomes. And that's why me personally and the city of Detroit is very excited about what the Lions are doing right now.
See, we hit him for a long question there, Speedy. It was about the Lions. Mm-hmm. He's from Detroit. He's loving it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Speedy.
So you brought up the new head coach, Dan Campbell, who I was questioning the hire because he was a retread coach, interim stint in Miami where everyone loved him, and now he's the Saints tight ends coach. I mean, how much do you really gain from that? So I was a little skeptical of the hire. It seemed like it was kind of a weird hire. The Lions, being how cash-strapped they are, and probably losing a lot on offense this offseason, I was surprised. What do you think of the hire of Dan Campbell? And now with Jared Goff there, how do you think those two will mesh?
Well, I've been a Detroiter my whole life, a Lions fan my whole life. So I'm used to disappointment, and I'm used to being patient here.
I'm a Jets fan, so I know all about it. So trust
100%. Yeah, I feel you. And real quick, before I answer your question, just in terms of social media, anytime I see what's your dream Super Bowl scenario, I always say the Lions versus the Jets because people lose their crap and they freak out. But I really mean that. The Lions and the Jets in the Super Bowl one day would be great. We might be dead and gone. We might be in a wheelchair with blankets over our laps, but hoping I'm seeing you here. In terms of Dan Campbell, to answer your question, I don't know too much about him. I'm still kind of doing my due diligence on Dan, and so I don't want to jump to conclusions or talk about something I don't. That's the easiest way to look stupid and lose respect or whatever it is. But when it comes to Dan Campbell, I don't care about the kneecap comment. I don't care how his presser went. I love what I took out of that. Instead of people honing in on specific words and saying, this guy's a weirdo, he's a dummy, he's in over his head. Why don't we pull from that his enthusiasm and his excitement to be a head coach for an organization that needs it, that wants to win so bad? You can tell that Dan has a vibe about him where he's going to do anything and everything it takes to make this thing work. And then paired with new GM Brad Holmes, Anthony Lynn at offensive coordinator. I mean, heck, they just grabbed, I think, one of the best strength and conditioning coaches, or it might have been the special teams coordinator out there. So again, Dan and Brad have started to put together a very awesome coaching staff, if I might say so.
As you guys know, we are talking to DFS cheat sheet content contributor Chris DeBacker. Now, Chris, talking about Detroit sports, and we were just talking about football. What are your thoughts with Detroit basketball right now, with everything that's gone on over the last couple of years, and moving players out from Detroit? This is not the same team when Larry Brown was there. Obviously, with a new coach, a coach that's been somewhere before. He's gone all the way to the NBA Eastern Conference Championship with the Toronto Raptors, and you talk about Steve Yzerman over there in the NHL side. Steve Yzerman really leaving Tampa Bay. The Lightning win a championship last year with his team, and coming over here to a Detroit Red Wings team that has not been good. They really have no future right now. They're trying to rebuild from their farm system. Where are your thoughts on where Detroit sports is going now that we know where football is going? What about basketball and hockey?
Well, that's a great question. I want to say over the years, right? So born in the mid 80s. So I saw some some Pistons championships, the bad boys, then the 5-game sweep, as they called it, against the Lakers. And then the Wings, that they were on a run, I believe, of 25 straight years of making the playoffs. They've won, I believe, 3 or 4 Stanley Cups in my lifetime. So I have to say, I mean, I don't live I'm not a Boston sports fan where every year there's a team winning the title, but I'd like to say that I'm blessed and highly favored to be a Detroit sports fan. We have 4 major sports teams here, 1 from each sport. And I know that if you look back in the history of professional sports, every city, they go through lulls and they go through highs. And then they maybe even the Tigers, they went to a couple World Series. They won the year I was born. And then they went to a couple, they lost to the Giants, but they were consistent with Verlander and Scherzer. They were consistently in, some AL championship games. They went to the series. So it's been exciting here in the last 15 to 20 years as a sports fan. But that was then. And the question you're asking me is now. So as it stands, Detroit sports will be up high on a pedestal again soon. That's just the ebb and flow of professional sports. Coaches leave, players leave, people retire, people die, right? I mean, it's just a fact of life here. So the Detroit sports scene will once again be in the forefront sooner rather than later. We've seen it in the history of sports. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, that Tigers team especially was really talented. They were really just missing those 2 things: position player defense, and their bullpen was terrible at that time. So definitely that ends up being the case. So yeah, so talking about those rebuilds, especially with the Red Wings, because you emphasize hockey a lot. What do you think about a lot of the young players they do have? Like Errol was saying, they've been kind of unlucky with the draft picks in a sense, with the lottery. People were thinking they had the number 1 pick this year with the record that they had. So they've had trouble rebuilding, also stuck with some bad contracts. What do you think some of those future young players are going to be like for the Red Wings, and also maybe some of those other teams? The Tigers have a lot of good pitching prospects right now. You were talking about Detroit Pistons. So what do you see the young player outlook to be? And what do you think of the expectations in a rebuilding type year for both those teams?
Yeah, another phenomenal question. And personally, I'm way into, the young kids in baseball, the prospects. And right now, the Tigers have one of the more bigger and best farms that I've seen in sports. I believe they're in the top 10, might be in the top 5. Don't take me at that, but they have some really talented young arms coming up. And Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, they took 1st overall. So the Tigers are slowly but surely putting it together. Again, they've been good, they've been bad, and they're working their way up again. In terms of the Red Wings, yeah, I'm upset that you mentioned our lottery pick, because they got screwed hard. They got screwed big time there. Supposed to to be first overall, and I don't even think they were in the top 5. I love Anthony Mantha. Kid's a stud, 6'5", loves to fist fight, and he'll score 30 goals in a season if you let him loose here. So I have all the. It's to me right now. It's not so much about what the Wings have in the lower stages of hockey. It's what about what Steve Yzerman can do, and I fully and completely trust Steve Yzerman's long-term outlet. I think he would benefit from bringing in some other ex-players, like what happened to Sergei Fedorov. Why can't you bring him in, just like Spielman and Barry went to the Lions here? So I fully and ultimately trust Stevie Y and his long-term direction here with the Wings. I mean, you didn't ask me, but I'll rank them anyways. I think in order of how fast I think they win, I think it's going to be Tigers, Lions, and Wings in that order. I don't have any years for championships. I'm just saying the way I personally read and see what they have going on, that's how I would rank them.
Before we let you go, I want to know your honest opinion here. Okay, are you ready? Who do you got winning the Super Bowl? One, and who is the MVP of the Super Bowl?
Oh boy. Well, I'll give you. I don't want to leave you hanging or be like, well, we had this guy on from Chi-Chi. He was boring as hell. We're never going to call him back.
Stop. We're going to get you on again. We love you, man.
Thank you so much. So personally, I do firmly believe that Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl. I think that you can't count out Tom Brady. I mean, the guy is, again, what is Tom Brady's?
I'm starting to hate you now.
Tom Brady's what? He's like 65, 67 years old, and he's still playing at such a high level here. You know, everybody's eyes and everybody under the sun is talking about the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, and rightfully so. That team is awesome. I mean, we have the legit start of a dynasty here with Kansas City. But then you throw Tom Brady in there, and all bets are off. We just cannot overlook him. And again, maybe I never, in my writing, in my broadcasting, I try not to be a homer, because then you lose respect. Like, oh, this guy's got some cool stuff, but it's always about Detroit here. But Brady played at Michigan, saw him play live in Ann Arbor several times. And then I've kind of followed his career, and he's fantastic. I do firmly believe that he is the best football player of all time, definitely the quarterback. And for some odd reason, there's just no way I can bet against Tom Brady. So Tom Brady, they win the Super Bowl, his 7th. And let's say Leonard Fournette is the MVP. 80, 90 yards, but he scores twice, one in the air, one on the ground. If I had to go one other route here, I would say look out for Tyreek Hill to be the MVP. When's the last time we saw the losing team, a player on the losing team, win the MVP? So you'd like to think whatever team wins, that's where you're going to get the MVP from. So if Kansas City wins, Tyreek Hill's the MVP. If Tampa Bay wins, Leonard Fournette is the MVP.
If Tampa wins and Tom Brady throws over 250 yards, they're going to give it to Tom Brady. We all know what they're going to do. I can't stand watching on who they decide to win the MVP. And if the quarterback even plays a little bit better than you would expect him to play, you give him the MVP. I don't understand it. Leonard Fournette has been a big part of why Tampa Bay is right now in the Super Bowl. He's been unbelievable. Anybody that says it, it's their defense, what JPP has done so far, what we've seen Barrett has done in the running game. It's not Tom Brady. Go look at the numbers. Tom Brady is having a run just like Peyton Manning had when he won the Super Bowl with the Broncos. This is not a good run. He's not played well. So, again, Tom Brady has a chance to win his 7th Super Bowl, which is unbelievable. Really fantastic, because there are teams that have never even won more than 2. This guy has won 7. For a guy to go to a team that hasn't won a Super Bowl in their creation and's gone the first year, who's never been to a Super Bowl, go all the way to the Super Bowl, it's unbelievable. It's a really crazy story. I'm starting to hate you, my friend.
Let me respond back real quick, if I may. I know you like to argue, but if I were to tell you, Tom Brady's going to be the MVP or Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP, that'd be boring. People would tune out. They'd go, it's the same old recycled trash from this guy, Chris. It's the same. So I try to maybe it's not wild, but it's different. It's something, that's fresh here. And again, I'll ask you a question. Do you think we ever see a quarterback win 6 Super Bowls again in the span of their career, let alone 7
Yes,
if it happens?
I do. I think we have a player right now playing in the AFC that's going to a championship right now that can win his second in 3 years. So, yes, I do believe that we're going to see. I think Andy Reid has a chance right now, especially in the AFC, to win not 3, but possibly 4 or 5 Super Bowl before he decides to retire with a guy like Mahomes, who, let's be honest, the AFC is not very talented. Yeah, there are teams that are getting better. The Buffalo Bills, you saw Josh Allen in the big game. Josh Allen just can't play. Hasn't played well in the big game. And there are quarterbacks. Yeah, if DeShaun Watson goes to the Jets, who knows what could happen with the way the Jets are building. There's a good argument to it, but the Jets haven't been to a Super Bowl in 50 years, and I'm a Jet fan. So, again, I think Kansas City has a very good chance of winning. Patrick Mahomes winning 6, 7 Super Bowls, maybe 8 or 9. I mean, being that he's in the AFC, just like Tom Brady, and being that he was in the easiest division in professional football, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Chris, before we let you go, tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Yeah, go find me on Twitter at Detroit Beastie, spelled how it sounds, Detroit, and then Beastie. That's my cat's name, Beastie. And all my work is at DFS Cheat Sheet, and I'm on Facebook, Chris Robin. But you want to reach out. Again, I said in the beginning of the broadcast, I pride myself on answering and getting back to anybody and everybody who messages me, who ats me, tags me, whatever. I take great pride in that, and I've had some success so far over these last years here. Before I get out of here, I'll leave you with this. What happens if the Lions trade 2 first rounds, a third, and they get Watson? You never know.
It's possible. It's possible. They could trade Jared Goff. Jared Goff could go from not 1 team, but 2 teams with a blink of an eye. So it's possible that it could happen. I just don't know if DeShaun Watson is going to waive his no-trade clause to go all the way to Detroit. It doesn't make any sense in my eyes. So, I mean, it's a good
hero.
Yeah,
he'd be a hero. Legend.
Be a hero. Absolutely. Chris, thank you for joining us. We'd love to get you on again.
100%. Anytime you need me. All I need is a 5-minute heads up. Hey, Chris, we're going live in 30 seconds. Can you make it? I'm there, boys.
Absolutely. So, Chris, thank you for joining us. We're going to definitely get you on again, and we'll be in tuned and check you out. As you guys know, you can check him out. His DF Cheat Sheet content contributor, Chris DeBacker. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, boys.
Chris is awesome. Speedy, great pickup over there. Jillian, you getting Chris on. He gave us some good insight, all the information that we absolutely needed. And by the way, just his personality, he fits a New Yorker type of personality. So I really liked him. I don't know what happened to you.
Yeah.
You smiled.
Argue with you. You got one for sure.
Well, why don't you speak? I mean, you have like a 8-second delay over there because of your internet. I don't know what the heck's going on with you over there. But anyways, I'd like to get Michael Geiger on. He's been on us. So Mike, call us up 631. Speedy, put it up, post it up 631-965-4990. I want to get Mike on. I like to know his intake because he's been arguing with me all over social media the last couple of days. So as you know, Mike, hit us up. I love to get you on. But back in, I do want to go back into the trade conversation and some of the quarterbacks that might be available this offseason. Aaron Rodgers is a guy right now at his highest point. He's going to be an MVP this year. This is his, second or third MVP as an NFL player. He's won a Super Bowl. He's just everything that we've seen Aaron Rodgers contribute for the Green Bay Packers. If he went to a team like the Tennessee Titans, or if he went to a team like, I don't know, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is done. You put him on Pittsburgh or with the weapons they have over there. You put him on a team that has weapons. How about Miami? The Miami Dolphins over there with the team they have, the defense that they had, and really the coach. I think Brian Flores, to me, was the MVP of the team this year and also the coach of the year. He was fantastic as a coach for his second year as a head coach for Miami. I think he's the best coach that ever come out from the Patriots and really the tree of Bill Belichick. But all in all, I mean, there are so many quarterbacks. There's so many There's so much movement this offseason that people are saying this quarterback could go here, that quarterback could go here, this quarterback could be drafted, this pick could be drafted for a quarterback. I mean, it's incredible. It really is. And now we're going to get Mike on the phone. We finally going to get him on. Mr. Mike Geiger, what's going on?
What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Well, I'm happy that you're joining us because I know you're a very argumental person on social media.
Yeah, as are you.
So
I'm not just argumentative on social media. I'm argumentative in person. You know that too,
yes,
from the LA Fitness locker room. So.
That's right. So why don't we? I have a question for you. So I know you've been arguing this whole Rams-Lions trade, and you like to trade for the Rams and the Lions. Tell us why you like to trade for the Rams and why you like to trade for the Lions.
Let's start with the Lions first. All right, I like to trade for the Lions because without Matt Stafford, they're light years away. Light years away. That's the first of all. I don't care. You could think Jared Goff is close to Matt Stafford. He's not close to Matt Stafford. He's been on teams with two of the best players in the league in the last couple of years, so you're going to be better. He goes to a team that doesn't have anybody close to that. Frank Ragnow is a good player. You know, Gerard Davis is a good linebacker from Florida, but he's not. Those guys are not close to Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. So let's pump the brakes there. All right. And as far as the Rams go, I think Matt Stafford is just much better than Jared Goff too. You know, they're trading 2 late picks essentially. You know what I mean? They're going to be late first rounders. You know, you're acting like they're guaranteed trading early first round picks. They're not. They're trading. Those are late draft picks, late first round draft picks. You look at guys that are drafted around there. Yeah, you can hit on them, but most of the time they're not pro. Those aren't Pro Bowl guys that you're drafting at that position. And the Rams are not built to be good in a few years. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like they got elite players under contract now. They have to win now. Like this is one of those all or nothing moves. And that's why I say I don't hate it for the Rams because Matt Stafford is better. Plain and simple. He's just a better quarterback than Jared Goff. You know what I mean? His numbers are insane for his career. He hasn't won. I know he hasn't won, blah, blah, blah. He hasn't won, whatever. But now there's no excuses now. You know, and we're going to see the kind of player that Matt Stafford is. He gets to play with his best friend in Los Angeles, Clayton Kershaw. I'm sure you know that. Mm-hmm. And he's just going to be happy. I think it's going to be such a different regime for him. He gets to be in his little California weather. He's going to be happier. He knows he's going to compete every single week and not have to verse Aaron Rodgers twice a year, the Bears defense twice a year. And I just think it's just going to be better for him. I really, really, really do.
Yeah, but you're going to have to play Russell Wilson, and you're going to go into probably the best division in football.
The Rams beat the Seahawks twice this year.
That's fine. And that's what Jared Goff. We don't know what Matthew Stafford. Again, you go back and Matthew Stafford, you say that Matthew Stafford is light years better than Jared Goff. But if you look at Jared Goff's numbers in the last 3 years, he's been amongst the league's best as far as yards per throw, yards per attempt. I mean, completion percentage. I mean, Matthew Stafford is his completion percentage that much better?
I don't hate Jared Goff. I told you that.
I do. I don't like him.
Yeah, like I don't love him, but I've had Mark Sanchez as my quarterback. You know what I mean? So I've had Tim Tebow as my quarterback. You know, trust me, Jared Goff doesn't scare me as much as some people. But no, like I just think Matt Stafford is just he's a California guy. He's going to bring so much energy to that team. He knows that he needs to prove himself. And he's on an elite, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, look, those guys are insane. And, that's the team that's ready to win football games now. So that's why I don't hate the trade. Like I said, I wasn't blown away by it. This is my favorite part, though. My favorite part is all these Jets, like not Jet fans, Jet haters that are like, oh, imagine what you're going to have to trade now for DeShaun Watson. I'm like, first of all, the second overall pick, you would have to trade 5 of those first rounders that the Rams gave up to get that second overall pick. So it's not even close as far as draft value. You're going to get, especially now, with all the talk about Darnold, everybody's apparently interested in Darnold. They're going to end up getting, I'm telling you right now, they're going to end up getting no later than a second round pick for Sam Darnold. Maybe more if the Jets give up like one of their 4s or 5s with Darnold. They might be able to get the Colts first round pick. They might be able to get something like that with the demand now that Stafford's gone. So, yeah, that's my favorite. I love people thinking that the Jets are going to have to trade Quinnen Williams and, all these guys, Bryce Hall, and 4 first-round picks. And it's just not really the case at all.
Well, also, when you look at the big picture, DeShaun Watson has something over the Texans. That's a no-trade clause. If DeShaun Watson wants to go to the Jets are not going to have to give up much because if that's the only team he wants to be traded to, or if it's them or the Miami Dolphins, they could play him against one another. But again, I don't know if a lot of people believe that the Texans are going to be able to draw out 3 first-round draft picks for DeShaun Watson. Now, what would be good for the Texans is the Texans get 2 first-round draft picks, maybe get Sam Darnold and maybe a 5th, and that would be it. And I think that would be still, it could be a good trade for the New York Jets. But I don't think they're going to want Sam Darnold. I could see that they're going to want that second pick because they want their future quarterback, either a Zach Wilson or a Justin Fields or whoever they want, Trey Lance or whoever they want at that second pick. And also, the Jets aren't just going to give them that. They also want a defensive player. So I think the Jets are going to add a defensive player in that trade if they get him.
And if I were to predict, I would say it's going to be Ashton Davis.
Mhm.
All right, it sounds because they started using him a lot towards the end of the year. He started showing some real promise. And there's a lot of talk about Keanu Neal and Marcus May obviously playing together in Florida, and that he wants to be a Jet too, and now with Robert Saleh, blah, blah, blah. So it just makes sense. Ashton Davis, like, listen, you used to pick on him last year, but if that's what it takes to get DeShaun Watson, that's what it takes to get DeShaun Watson. There's only 2 players on my team that are untouchable, in my opinion, and it's Mekhi Becton, Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams isn't going anywhere in Robert Saleh's defense. Like, there's no chance that Robert Saleh lets him go. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it's Quinnen Williams and a first-round pick or something like that, okay, maybe. But everybody sees the game record that this guy is. He's not going anywhere. He's 23 years old, and he's not even touching the surface of the kind of player that he can be. But that's and as far let's get to the top three teams in the NFC.
Yes,
that we're talking about.
Yes.
You got Corey Linsley probably leaving Green Bay, so there's a step down.
Mhm.
I love Aaron Rodgers, though. I'll always put him first. Buccaneers, they're losing Godwin or Shaq Barrett, so they're not going to necessarily be much better. Tom Brady always makes us feel like he can be the man, and I still think he's going to be good. But 3 interceptions and 3 drives last week. I don't hate him, but those are the only 2 teams. I don't name another team in the NFC that really scares you. More than the Rams. I don't really see it.
I do believe that Seattle, if they make some moves this offseason, I think they need to add to their defense. I know Speedy making faces, anything. They get themselves
defenses I've ever seen.
Well, absolutely, but they do have weapons. They still have pieces that they can build a defense. They need an edge rusher. They couldn't find an edge rusher after losing Jadeveon Clowney. There are going to be edge rushers available this offseason because they can add an edge rusher.
Yeah, but their salary number is not very, very, very great itself.
That's fine.
That's what happens when you have to pay guys like that. They were one of the more embarrassing teams I watched the second half of the year.
They were
lost to the New York Giants. They don't scare me. I'm not
San Francisco. I think San Francisco.
I love San Francisco.
I think San Francisco is going to be good this year when they get healthy.
Who's playing quarterback for them?
I don't know. It could be Jimmy Garoppolo. They could make a trade for Sam Darnold. Who knows?
I know. So exactly, if you go back to the chat, though, is what we were talking about. Right this exact second, with the rosters that they have, the Rams are the 3rd best team in the NFC next year. It's just
I don't know.
My opinion.
I don't. That's a good opinion. That's a good opinion. I don't like their weapons. I know everybody likes. I think a lot of people like certain players on this team. I don't think Woods and some of the weapons that they have is going to be enough. And Cooper Kupp is a great player. Cooper Kupp can't stay healthy.
Okay, guess what? What if Mr. Kenny Galladay, free agent over there, goes to the Rams?
Yeah, that's fine if he goes there. And I don't know if they can have the money to get him. I don't think they're going to have the money because Kenny Galladay is looking for a payday, and he's probably the 2nd best wide receiver in free agency. He's going to want a big bag of money, and I don't think the Rams have the money. They're overpaying Jalen Ramsey, they're overpaying Aaron Donald, and now they're paying Matthew Stafford a lot of money too.
If you're going into win now mode, you turn some of those numbers into signing bonuses, roster bonuses. You get the salary cap down and you make it work, and they're going to do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're losing Leonard Floyd on defense unless again he resigns or if they franchise tag him, which they're not going to do, plain and simple. But listen, it's. I just think that they're going to be there, and we'll make a friendly wager on it.
Yeah, we can. Absolutely.
So we'll make
I don't trust Mike. The problem is I don't trust, and I love Matthew Stafford. I absolutely love him. I don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to stay healthy. You saw Jared Goff. He got hurt at the end of the season. He had to get surgery on his thumb. He still came back, and they still almost went to an NFC title game. I know everybody blames their blames their offense on why they didn't make the plays. It wasn't their offense that didn't win the game. It was their defense. They're overpaid defensive players.
But their defense didn't even play poorly. Like they listen. Matt LaFleur, he had a very nice scheme going. Jalen Ramsey he had 9 catches for 66 yards. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't smoking anybody in that game. He was finding the zone, getting open, doing his thing, but Jalen Ramsey did a pretty good job. Obviously, the touchdown. If you know football, and I know you know football, that's not his fault.
No, it wasn't his fault.
The play, like you see him yelling at the slot quarterback. You know what I mean? To slide, and he just wasn't sliding. And then when Devontae Adams caught the ball, you saw him go nuts because you know what I mean. Like other guys got to execute. You know what I mean? You could do anything you want. Like you're not gonna, you know, if Jalen Ramsey's running across the field and having to move out of the way of linebackers, it's, you know, it's gonna be hard to cover him. But anyway, like, we want to get to the Jets quickly.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
I think he's coming, baby. I really, really do. I think he's coming, and I don't think there's. Listen, the only other team that would scare me as far as him being like, you know what, I can play over there, and I'm going to be in a division with a 42-year-old Matt Ryan and Jameis Winston, and a young head coach with Christian McCaffrey. I think the Carolina Panthers are the only other team that I would be worried about as far as coming and playing. You know what I mean? Like making an offer that he goes, okay, like I could do that. You know what I mean? The Jets didn't want to pay this for me. I could really see him going to Carolina, but realistically, he's going to be a New York Jet. So let's get that straight. And that's a lot. If you're the Texans, you put Sam in some warm weather in Houston. Okay, you draft the guard, the tackle from Oregon. Now you have Tunsil and him with Darnold, and a ton more draft capital. See if the kid could play football. Maybe you struck gold. You know what I mean? Maybe he's a top 15 quarterback in the league with a very good offensive line, and you built some draft capital. I think Sam is going to thrive in a second chance. Maybe it's not Houston. I don't know where it is. You know, maybe it's Indianapolis.
Saints.
Maybe it's one of those. But Saints, fine. But whoever wants to give us the most, that's where you can go play. I really don't care. But
I do believe Sam is going to be an elite quarterback. I think it just so happens he got Bates.
Yeah, it was a bad timing type of thing. It was a bad timing type of thing.
I feel bad for the kid because I think the Jets didn't do him any help. Didn't give him any help when they needed.
Terrible. Mike McCagnon was the biggest joke I've ever seen in the history of sports. That guy was terrible. Left and right, terrible. And then Tremaine Johnson contracts. Guys bagging groceries now. It's insane. I was running routes in the field that day that signing happened, and I was like, oh no. I just knew it. And I was like,
you know who liked that move? My friend over here, Speedy Petey. He absolutely loved it. God. He absolutely loved Jermaine Johnson. I remember Jermaine Johnson, and I didn't hate it because I thought he was the best corner available, but I didn't love it. And after the first season, I seen enough of Jermaine Johnson. I did. I seen enough of him. God. He was horrendous.
That guy stinks.
He was, but that's the Jets. The Jets bring in guys, free agents that are overpaid. They overpaid Muhammad Wilkerson. They overpaid him, and look what Muhammad Wilkerson did to the Jets.
First of all, I watched them draft him over Melvin Ingram, and I wanted to hang myself. But I knew that was going to be dead right off the bat. But that actually might have been the quick. I don't know. It was one of the two. But listen, Jets. If they get DeShaun Watson, what you do is you tell Josh Allen, like, listen, buddy, this is smooth sailing, all right? You know, you're not the best quarterback in this division anymore. I don't know if they're going to be a better team than the Bills next year, but you let Josh Allen know, hey, a little bit of pressure on you now. You had your chance last year. You couldn't do it. You know, both games he played this year with fans in the opposing stadium, he lost. That's just it's a fun fact. I know one of them, and it was Arizona with the Hail Mary, but still lost. No, I don't care. He lost. I'm not Josh Allen. Like, I don't know. He doesn't do anything for me. I'm watching Colin Cowherd and all these other guys, and I'm just like, relax.
Yeah.
Relax. Yeah. And comparing him to Pat Mahomes. Oh, Pat Mahomes. I'm like, oh my goodness. Pat Mahomes. Everybody talks about the eyeball test, right? The eyeball test. Pat Mahomes is the best football player I've ever watched play football. I'm not going to call him the greatest of all time yet because he's a child. Absolutely needs to win this game because if he loses this game and goes down 7-1 to Tom with both of his playoff losses against Tom Brady, even if you win 7, it's going to be hard to catch him. So.
Yeah, I listen. I think Deshaun Watson is just as good as Patrick Mahomes. I really do. And if the Jets somehow ply him away from the Texans, I think the Jets will be in a good position. That's for damn sure.
Right. So this is my mock draft. All right. Well, for the Jets, my mock offseason. You got to make the trade. Okay. You get Deshaun Watson. You draft Kadarius Toney from Florida. Sign Allen Robinson. Those like just like that. Your offense: Kadarius Toney, Denzel Mims, Allen Robinson. You're going to use LaMichael Perine or probably draft a running back later on, third round, get from Buffalo, whatever, cool. And then you need either Corey Linsley, Joe Thuney, Brendan Scherf, one of those guys on the O-line. And then as far as defense goes, obviously Keanu Neal, one of those other Bryce Hall, Terrell Basham. These guys are going to be Neville Hewitt was third in the NFL in tackles last year. People don't understand that. You got CJ Mosley coming back, and apparently he's in the best shape that anybody's ever seen. You know, that's what Blake Cashman said on Instagram the other day. He said he's in the best shape he's ever seen a linebacker in ever. You know, there is just no reason. Listen, again, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. Yes, I did bet on them to win the Super Bowl next year because the odds were insane. The odds were just insane. You know what I mean? And if you get DeShaun Watson, who knows what happens? But you know, it was like 125 to 1. You know what I mean? So I was like, whatever, $100. I've spent $100 on Chinese food before.
Mike, we're gonna definitely get you back on. We have a special guest.
We have a McGregor score to settle.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, and we will get into that. Trust me.
All right, buddy.
Absolutely. Mike Geiger, and by the way, a good friend of mine. Really, really nice guy. He knows his sports. That's for sure. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bonds. Did I get that right, Speedy? I think I did get it right? Here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Oh, this is Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, the great tidy whitey man himself, Super Speedy Petey. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. You could download our app, yes, going to iOS, which is Apple, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. And guys, you can read our articles, our great articles. You can listen to our shows live. It's fan-friendly. That's why we had it built. That's why it cost as much as it did for the fans, the older fans, the younger fans. It doesn't matter how old you are. Download the app. Oh, wow. Did you like Mike Geiger or what, Speedy? I told you. He wouldn't. He will fight me to the end. He's one of those guys on social media. He will attack any single thing that I say, especially if he thinks that I'm wrong. Me and him had a all-out war when Conor McGregor got knocked out about a week and a half ago, and he was telling me that Conor will be back, and I said Conor is done, but that's just my opinion. Anyways, our second guest, and I was very excited to see that we were going to get him on. Jillian was telling me a little bit about him. We are now talking to the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond. What's going on, Joe?
Hey, not much. Glad to be here. Just ready to talk some sports, man.
Absolutely. By the way, I asked Speedy if your name was Joe Bond because sometimes Speedy sends me the name and I try to sound it out and I completely mash up or ruin the name. I completely ruin any kind of sound. If I try to sound out a name, I am absolutely terrible about it. So
you and me both, man.
I'm terrible. Absolutely. But anyways, how are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
We're doing good, getting through. I got 2 young kids, doing virtual school and homeschooling and stuff. So hopefully it'll be over soon.
Well,
I'm ready.
If you want to homeschool Speedy Petey, he needs some help over there. Maybe
I got my hands full with my 4-year-old. I'm good to go.
Oh man! So tell us a little bit about your organization and what made you decide to build Fantasy Six Pack. Well, obviously, fantasy is big, but what made you decide to build your organization?
Yeah. Funny. So it actually kind of started off as like a joke, like 10 years, 11 years ago now. I was doing well in all my friends' fantasy leagues, and a bunch of them were coming to me for advice for their other leagues. And, they joked, they're like, "Oh, you should start a site and charge people for it." And I was like, "Yeah, right, whatever." So, a couple beers one night, finally jumped on and did it. I was like, let's see what happens. It was kind of nothing for the first, 5-6 years. And then I got on FantasyPros and really, my name got out there, and I was doing rankings with them and things like that. And the site's really blown up. I've got like 30 to 40 writers right now doing baseball, basketball, football. We do hockey, we do DFS, we do golf, NCAA stuff, NFL draft. So we do a lot.
That's crazy. It really is. As you guys know, we are talking to the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond.
Yeah, so you mentioned all these different sports that you do. Like, which ones do you really put emphasis into? I know it's the most popular, but you specifically have emphasis in with your content as well, creatively and stuff like that. Which ones do you put into the most, and how do you think the industry as a whole is growing with each of those sports?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously football is the biggest, and it's the one. If you're gonna do football, you've got to put a lot of effort into football to really get your name out there. There's thousands of fantasy sites, thousands of podcasts, so it's just making connections, getting to know people, just things like that. So that's where I say the majority of the energy goes. Secondary would be baseball. And those are the two that I focus on content wise. I used to write basketball, but I had to step away this year. I just have too much on my plate trying to run the site and manage all the people as well. So I stepped away from that. But I mean, we've got a great team of writers that do the other sports as well. They all definitely know their stuff way more than I do. So I just kind of let them run with it. I'm in the background, kind of making sure the buttons are being pushed, things like that, and the right content's going out. But those guys that write the basketball and the hockey and do the DFS golf and things like that, they know that stuff way better than I do. So I no bother me even trying.
So what were your thoughts on this Matthew Stafford trade? It came out this weekend, really in the beginning of the weekend, and everybody was all flabbergasted because a lot of people believe the Rams gave up too much to get a 33-year-old quarterback that hasn't really been the quarterback that we remember since really Johnson retired. So what were your thoughts on Jared Goff getting traded to the Lions, Matthew Stafford getting traded to the Rams?
I also thought it was a lot from an NFL side. But I get it. They had to make the money work and things like that too. So I just was still shocked that somebody would go out and trade that many first picks. I guess the Rams really don't like first round picks. That's pretty much what it's come down to. They're not going to pick one for like 7 or 8 years now after it's all said and done. And who knows? Maybe they'll keep going. I think it's a good fit for Stafford. I really do. If they can bolster that offensive line a little bit, I think he can really flourish there. So it's a good trade for the Rams. Their window is going to close really fast on the Super Bowl. That defense is going to get older, and they're going to lose guys for sure after a while. And so, that being able to carry them into a Super Bowl, that window's closing. So I think they saw this opportunity, like, hey, let's do it now and just see what happens. And I don't blame them for trying. So I don't hate it.
So what do you think in terms of the impact that this kind of trade will have for both of those? Robert Woods and Cooper getting Matthew much more slow type than Jared Goff is. Offense was more of a deep arm, and then on the Lions, they probably they keep Galladay, Hawkinson, guys like that, even DeAndre Swift. Do you think those values will be like? Do you think it'll be an upgrade or a downgrade with the new quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think on the Rams side, you're looking at a slight upgrade for both Woods and Kupp. I mean, they were both already, easy wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 1 some weeks. That kind of range for those guys. But I think they just become more consistent, and so you're going to be looking to target them in drafts. The run game there might take a slight hit, though. But I mean, who knows? It's hard to say if the lack of the run game in Detroit was Stafford or if it was coaching. So I have to kind of wait and see there and see what reports say. But my gut says the run game takes a bit of a hit because the passing game will be able to thrive so much. Now over in Detroit, I think it's kind of the opposite. The receivers are going to take a bit of a hit. Goff is just not a very consistent quarterback, in my opinion. And, he has relatively more bad games than good games. So those guys are definitely going to take a hit. And man, if they lose Galladay, that's brutal, which I think we all kind of expect to happen, unfortunately. So, maybe in that case, just because they lost Galladay, Jones gets a slight uptick because he might see more targets, and Hawkinson will as well, assuming they don't bring in somebody else. But then on the other side, like you look at DeAndre Swift, his value might go up because Goff is known to, utilize the run game a lot, and he check down to the run game too, to where that's something Stafford didn't really do. So I like Swift a little bit more on that side.
Carl, one of our fans, Carl, asked me how he will compare stats in a baseball season being shorter. How did you compare the stats for a baseball season being shorter?
Yeah, the $100 question, $1 million question for the year. It's tough, actually. You've got to account for it, but it's also a small sample size. So you've got to realize, you think of it as like a player going, getting hot for like the first half of the season before the All-Star break. And then, well, sometimes we see that they just totally crash afterwards. So you've got to take that into account. When I did, the rankings and things like that, I definitely looked at last year, but I didn't take it into full account that I normally would. Probably about, I'd say maybe about 75% of the way I normally would. But I mean, look, it was still a season. Players were playing, so you can't totally ignore it either.
Mm-hmm. As you guys know, we are talking to the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond.
So you brought up the baseball season, one for it being shorter, and also two for it being a little different in terms of both the pitching strategy with opener, with pitchers not going as long in games, and also with the relief pitchers, not as many true closers. How do you address that kind of strategy with these managerial changes that have come, and just the strategy changes as a whole in real baseball when judging for fantasy?
Yeah, great question. And I mean, you're seeing it. So if you look at ADP values right now, you're seeing top end pitching going earlier. And so that, and I tend to agree with that. You've got to go out and get some of these guys that you can rely on, the DeGroms, it used to be Kershaw, but the Walker Buehlers and those types of pitchers. You've got to go get your workhorse pitchers to get you, if you're in a quality starts league, guys that are going to go 7-8 innings, that are going to be able to qualify for quality starts, or pitch long enough where you don't have to go into the bullpen and rely on some relief arm to possibly blow the game if you're in wins and things like that. So I think top end pitching gets pushed up. Now what that does is there's a domino effect. So really good hitting is at a value. So if you want to ignore the top end pitching and go with like mid-tier guys, which is plausible, you can just hammer hitting early because so many people are going to take pitchers. I mean, you're seeing just loads. Like I've seen mock drafts of some of the top experts out there, and the color is yellow for pitchers, and the first 3 rounds is like half yellow. We've never seen anything like that before. Never. So you're seeing it with even the guys that that do this for a living. They're just hammering pitching, and rightfully so. Now I'm probably gonna go with like 1 or 2 in the first 4 rounds. I'm not going to go, 3. I've seen guys just pitcher, and that's a bit much for me. Like, look, hitting, in my opinion, is more consistent and more reliable. And you still need those top end hitters to compete in your leagues. If you don't have them, you're gonna have to really get lucky a lot, to where streaming pitching is still a thing, and you're gonna find guys that come out of the woodwork every single year. I mean, come on, who would have thought last year Trevor Bauer was going to do what he did? He was a steal last year.
So let me ask you this question. Obviously, we are talking to the founder of the Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond. Joe, the Yankees were talking to Cincinnati a couple of weeks ago for Luis Castillo. And there were stories coming out that they were interested in possibly Andahar and another young player in their farm system, maybe another player, maybe another player right now in their starting lineup. But then there were stories coming out that Gleyber Torres was the guy that they really wanted. And Gleyber Torres, who's an everyday player, 2 years ago, he was a 40-40 hitter. I think he had 40 home runs and 40. I think he had something like that. He had 40 home runs and 40 doubles or something like that. So when you look at Gleyber Torres and you look at the New York Yankees, would you make that move right now because of the Yankees' problem at their pitching staff in the beginning of their starting rotation? I mean, you have Garrett Cole, now you have Kluber, you added Talon. Do you make a move for Castillo and trade one of your best player, if not your best player, your best all-around player, or do you hold up on that trade and maybe wait in the middle of the season? Maybe you can get him for a cheaper price.
Me personally, I think I hold, because I don't know who takes Torres' spot in the field. That would be the number one problem for me.
Didi Gregorius, he's available. You bring in a left-handed bat.
Yeah, I mean, it's
in New York.
I think now. Look, a few weeks ago, before they made all the moves, probably a different story. I think I might have pulled the trigger on that. But now, since they have added Kluber and Taillon, and to pair up with Cole, I'm not as concerned anymore as a Yankee. I think that's a pretty good 1-2-3. It can compete, and having Torres there to just mash with Stanton and Judge, and obviously Voit and LeMahieu, like that's a powerful lineup. So that's something I wouldn't want to break up too much. I mean, Didi's okay, but I mean. Nah.
He's a left-handed bat, which the Yankees have been crying for ever since they lost Didi Gregorius. He went to Philadelphia for a year. He did pretty well in Philadelphia. If you look at Didi's numbers,
he did
in Philadelphia, he had great numbers. If I were the Yankees right now, I'd still bring Didi Gregorius back for a $3 or $4 million a year. I think he would come back to the New York Yankees. The Yankees have the highest payroll in baseball. And by the way, I'm a Yankee fan. All those Yankee fans that are crying the river that the Yankees aren't open up their pockets or they didn't make a move for like Francisco Lindor, cry me a river. The Yankees have arguably probably two of the best power hitters in the outfield in Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, who can't stay healthy, by the way. Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMay, who won the batting title this year. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. If you don't win with this team and this roster, then you're not going to win at all. So all you Yankee fans that are crying the river that the Mets are opening up their pockets and the Yankees didn't, the Yankees are opening up the pockets. It just doesn't look like the sassy move that the Mets made for Francisco Lindor. So, but your thoughts to the Yankees giving DJ LeMahieu the 6 year, I think it was 6 years, 80 or 90.
Yeah, 90.
$90 million and really changing really the cap. I mean, you think about the Yankees over the last 20 years, 25 years, George Steinbrenner had to spend the money to bring in the big players, the Jason Giambis, they never won with them. The Alex Rodriguez, they won one title with them. So all the players the Yankees have brought in to the organization, the veteran players that they were superstars, really didn't pan out for the Yankees. Are you surprised? Are you surprised that the Yankees have completely changed possibly where baseball is going now with the whole COVID-19 and now signing the players for a longer contract for lesser money? Are you surprised about it? Savarino, last year they did that with the Yankees did.
Yeah. When that contract got announced, my jaw dropped, first off, for two reasons. One, the money really is nothing in comparison to what the Yankees have spent and what other teams usually would spend for a player that produced like DJ LeMahieu. And then you add on the fact that it's 6 years. He'll be what, 38, 39 when it's done? I mean, so it's like a win-win for both sides. Like DJ LeMahieu got the years he wanted and the guaranteed money, and he's throughout the rest of his career. So he got what he wanted, and the Yankees got what they wanted, and a huge salary saver. It was a phenomenal contract in my opinion that the Yankees signed. And I'm actually surprised that DJ LeMahieu didn't try to go for more money. He deserves it. I mean, he's great.
He took less money to go to the Yankees. I heard what I was hearing. Another team, I don't remember what team it was, offered him 110, 115. He took less money,
wow.
Took $15 million or almost $20 million less to go back to the Yankees. That shows you how much he loved the Yankees, loves playing there. He grew up a Yankee fan, and the Yankees took a chance on him a couple of years ago. And boy, oh boy, Brian Cashman looks smarter and smarter every single year. Landing DJ LeMahieu, giving him, I think he got $21 million for a 2-year contract. He should have won the batting title the year before the year before this past year. He was second. He was runner-up for the batting title, and then he won the batting title. He's the first player in Major League history to win batting titles in the National League and the American League. From all the great players we've seen over the years, this guy was the first player to do that. So it's an amazing feat, and I thought was the MVP of the league.
He's phenomenal, man. I'll tell you, I've got him in one of my dynasty baseball leagues, and people can't pry him off of me. Like I'm like, nah, I'm good. He's just super good and consistent, and he like rarely comes out of my lineup. I love having him. So glad to have him with the Yankees still. It'll help his fantasy value for sure.
So let's go to DJ LeMahieu's. So let's go to DJ LeMahieu's former teammate and Nolan Arenado. He got traded to the Cardinals, a move that the Cardinals really fleeced the Rockies really badly in that deal. Now, from a fantasy perspective, Nolan Arenado is going to lose a lot not having Coors Field, which really elevates the hitters.
No, he's not.
But at the same time,
he's not. No, he's not in that lineup. Not in that lineup. No, he's not.
But also, you're not facing Dodgers pitching and Padres pitching with what they did in the offseason. You're facing a division which, outside of the Reds, assuming they keep everybody, they don't have a lot of pitching in that division. So what do you think his fantasy value will be like in terms of his numbers, in power numbers, RBI numbers, stuff like that?
I think he's gonna be pretty much the same, honestly. Like he loses a tick of power, but I mean he's a good home road split guy. Like, yeah, the numbers are a little inflated because of the Coors Field, but it's not like he was bad away. And that's a fairly powerful lineup that they've got there in St. Louis. Maybe instead of, I mean, my God, he had some seasons where he was like 100 and 130 RBI. Like, maybe instead of those, maybe we get more, near the 100, 110 range. Okay. Like you're still fine with that. I think last year was, when you talk about small sample size, I think Nolan Arenado is one of those guys where, he was a little bit banged up last year. I think he had a shoulder injury basically most of the season. That
he didn't want to be there either. He didn't want to be.
No, he hates it there. So he wasn't into it. And you saw like his average drop dramatically. He's never hit 253 before. He's always been in 280s, 290s, 300s hitter. The slugging percentage dropped dramatically. Like it just was an off year for them. And I think you can kind of, when you look at the short sample size and the 60 game season, you look at a guy like Arenado where like it's such a dramatic drop. You can go, that's probably something I can pretty much ignore. And I'll tell you, in fantasy leagues, he's going third, fourth round. He was a first rounder last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that every day. There's no way he's lasting that long in leagues. I guarantee his value is going to go back up. People are going to realize that they're being stupid about this right now. And
it's terrible. It's a terrible. Anybody that thinks that Nolan Arenado's numbers are going to go down when he's going into a better lineup with arguably one of the best power hitters in baseball, and Paul Goldschmidt, you're talking about the best first baseman to the best third baseman. Their infield is going to be dynamic. I mean, how many times could we go back in time to say that the Yankees had the best a team had the best first baseman and the best third baseman in baseball? I would say the Yankees. When you had what's his name again? You had Alex Rodriguez and what's his name again? Played for the Texas Rangers. Speedy. I'm sorry, I slipped my mind.
Teixeira.
Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira.
Yeah.
So when Mark Teixeira came to the Yankees, Mark Teixeira was if not the best first baseman, he was the second best first baseman in baseball. And they had Alex Rodriguez. That was the last time I could honestly say that a team had the best first baseman and the best third baseman in baseball. Now you have Paul Goldschmidt, who I think is hands down the best first baseman in baseball. There's no argument to that. And Nolan Arenado, who got a big, huge contract a couple of years ago from the Colorado Rockies. And the only reason why he took that contract for the Colorado Rockies is because of the fans. And if he took a less contract going to somebody like the Yankees or somebody else, he would have been attacked by not only baseball, but saying, oh, the Yankees get their man. They always get the man. Because I remember, what was it, a year ago that the Yankees were interested, or 2 years ago, the Yankees were interested in making a move for Nolan Arenado. So I think Nolan Arenado, that was a steal. It was an absolute steal by the Cardinals. And that puts the Cardinals right back up there as one of the best teams in the National League and probably one of the most dangerous teams in the National League, especially in that division.
Yeah, I mean, not only did they give up just about nobody, they don't have to pay the full contract. And, we all know that Arenado's got the bat. Let's not forget, he's won the Gold Glove a couple times. So, this guy's got defense too. So you can't ignore what this guy's done. He's a difference maker out there. So, I was shocked when I saw the deal and who the Cardinals actually gave up. I mean, it was kind of nothing.
I will say this, with all the trades that we've seen in football, baseball, and now basketball too. I mean, the Harden move, where they traded away practically their whole organization, their team, to try to win a championship, the Brooklyn Nets. And we talk about the Brooklyn Nets over the years, what they did with the Celtics, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago, or almost 10 years ago with Billy King. Billy King doesn't have a job. He probably will never get a job again because of what he did, trading away the whole organization. And they did it again. 10 years later, they did the same thing for James Harden. So that they could have set their team and their organization back another 15 years or 10 years. I don't know. Hopefully they win, because if they don't, not only is Mark's going to be looking for a new job, Steve Nash will never get a coaching job again. Amari Stoudemire will be playing in Israel again. And I guess Mike D'Antonio will be playing and coaching high school basketball team. I don't know. I mean, seriously, you look at what the Nets are doing. It makes absolutely no sense. As well as some of these teams, I think Nolan Arenado was a steal. I also think this trade with Jared Goff, again, I'm going to say it, I thought it was a terrible trade. I thought it was an absolute terrible trade. And by the way, Carl saying over here, no way the closed captioning can keep up with Errol. Rizzo wins the Gold Glove this year. Okay, Rizzo won the Gold Glove this year. I know he loves this, Rizzo, but to me, the best first baseman in baseball, and nobody's going to argue this, is Paul Goldschmidt. He's been the best first baseman in baseball, and there's no argument to that. So, as good as Rizzo has been over the last, I would say, 10 years, I still think the best first baseman in baseball is Paul Goldschmidt. But before we let you go, my friend,
Freddie Freeman might have a debate with you there.
Well,
you're
absolutely. I mean, Freddie Freeman is really good too. I can't argue that either. I mean, Freddie Freeman is as good a two-way player as Paul Goldschmidt is and Rizzo is. So you can argue that too. I mean, the only problem with Freddie Freeman is he can't stay healthy. That's the only thing. And same thing with Rizzo. I mean, Rizzo, he gets hurt very easily too. Paul Goldschmidt too in the last couple of years too. He hasn't stayed healthy, but before he left to Arizona to go to Cardinals, he was very healthy. I mean, he was a very healthy player. So I guess as you age, you get older and you get hurt. So before we let you go, man, I know you told us a little bit about your organization. Is there any particular writer that really stands out from some of the stories that are written on your website? And who is it? And who do we check out to read?
Gonna call me out, make me pick somebody. Jeez. So I'll just say some of the older guys, some of the guys that have been around a while. Jonathan Chan, writes some stuff. He's our content manager for baseball. Kevin Huo is our content manager for football. They both write phenomenal pieces. Tyler Thompson is a baseball guy, and he gets into the nitty gritty of the stats and stuff, and those are fun to read as well. So those are three that I think absolutely go out there and read their stuff when they get published.
So I would definitely love to get you on again when the season starts, the baseball season starts. I'm sure you're going to have some pick'ems and some fantasy information that we definitely need. I think we have a lot of fantasy friends and fans that listen to the shows, and they have their own thoughts with fantasy because everybody's a guru. So we've had a lot of fantasy guys on our show and different personalities. So we'd love to get you on again. Maybe get you on with another fantasy guy from another organization and kind of argue some fantasy picks. I think that would be great.
Sounds good to me, man.
So why don't you tell the fans how they can find you on social media?
Yeah. So the site is at Fantasy Six Pack, all spelled out. And then I'm at F6P_Joe.
There you go. So Joe, were you related to James Bond?
No, I'm not. I'm apparently I'm his cousin, is what I like to tell people.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
hey. I used to love what was that? GoldenEye on
N64.
N64, and I was actually really good at GoldenEye. Everybody used to find all the secrets to the secret passages is going in, and my friends used to kill me, used to come behind me and shoot me in the back of the head. And I always thought the bigger the gun, the better the gun. It was always the smaller the gun, the better the gun. So
how good you can hide.
In the caves, I was very good at hiding in the caves. Every other board that we were on, I couldn't find a way to hide from anybody. So I wasn't the best GoldenEye player, but I love to play. Joe, thank you for joining us, bud.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. Have a good night, guys.
Absolutely. Really, really nice guy. We were just talking to the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond. Great insight on his thoughts of what's going on in baseball and basketball and football. I mean, actually, it was football and baseball mostly. We didn't really get into basketball except when I mentioned James Harden. Oh, man. That James Harden trade is going to really stand out. Why did James Harden not play last night?
I'm not even sure. That's weird. I didn't hear anything about that, but who knows? Tension could be starting to brew, and it's not like he helped their defense. They still allowed 149 points.
Yeah, I did. Oh my God. By the way, Kevin Durant is back. Anybody that argues about what Kevin Durant is the second best player in the league again. Nobody can argue that. I mean, you watch what Kevin Durant is doing on that team. And yes, the Brooklyn Nets, they're loaded when it comes to Kyrie Irving, him, and Harden. But this guy is still averaging almost over 30 points a game. This is an Achilles that he tore. And every single time, every single great player in their 30s that come back from an Achilles tear, they're never the same player. I don't believe Klay Thompson will be the same player when he comes back from that injury. But Kevin Durant, for some reason, and what he is as a player, he's been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. The thing that was worrisome with Durant initially off the Achilles was how good would that step back shot be? Because Durant always made it a living being the 6'11", 7-foot guy that could shoot the three and kind of fade back while doing it. He wasn't just a catch and shoot guy. He could create the shot. And that was the big thing I worried about coming into this. Not that Durant was going to be a great player, because he's a great player, but that was the one thing I thought that might be taken away. But so far, not the case. He still has that shot, and in strong range too.
I'm listening. I'm watching what Carl's writing, and he says Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic's having a fantastic season. Here's the problem. Luka's supposed to take that team to that next step. And right now, with Kristaps Porzingis, and you're hearing some stories that a lot of the Dallas fans want him out. They don't want him there anymore. You're talking about you're going back to that trade with the New York Knicks and all the fans taking shots at the Knicks organization and Perry trading Kristaps Porzingis because him and his brother wanted to run the organization and decide. His brother wanted to be a part of the thought of where this team is going in the future, who they should bring in, who should they not bring in, and all that other, become like the assistant GM of the organization. And this guy doesn't have really a basketball background besides his brother. And then all of a sudden he goes over there. The guy can't stay healthy. Got into a bar fight. I mean, the guy tore his ACL and he's jumping off a boat. How many different stories that we hear from Kristaps Porzingis? He's hanging out with this girl. He's hanging out with this girl. He's hanging out with a model. He's not hanging out with a model. He's hanging out with his mom. Who knows what he's doing? I mean, behind closed doors. and the guy can't stay healthy. And now all of a sudden, you look at this team. I told you, Speedy, this team does not have depth. They have no depth on their bench, none whatsoever. Tim Hardaway Jr., who I thought was he's a good player. He's a good bench player. He can give you 16, 17 points a game. He's looked bad on this team. They get no offense off the bench. They don't play any defense. Carlisle, I don't know how Carlisle still has a job. I understand he won a championship with this team, but let's be honest, this team has not won anything, haven't done anything. And if this team don't make the playoffs in the Western Conference, which quite possibly is going to happen, I just think that the Western Conference has too much depth with Portland and Utah and some of these other teams. I could see Sacramento possibly squeezing in this year. I mean, there's a lot of good teams at the end, at the 9th or 10th spot that could squeak in. If they don't make the playoffs, the Knicks could get a lottery pick from Dallas, and the Knicks could squeeze into the playoffs in the Eastern Conference and still get a lottery pick. Wouldn't that be something? The Knicks completely transition their team. They bring in some players. They have a tremendous amount of draft stock. They still get 2 first-round draft picks this year. And you look at the big picture, the Knicks could still get a lottery pick from Dallas, and that could be and you know what's going to happen? I'm going to predict this. If Dallas don't make the playoffs and the Dallas Mavericks are a lottery pick, the Knicks will get the number 1 pick from Dallas. I will put money on it. I am going to put money on it. The Knicks have never been so lucky, and the Knicks have never been lucky in the draft. I will bet you if Dallas somehow falls apart and don't make the playoffs, and they're in the top 10, some way or another, the Knicks will get into the top 3 and possibly the number 1 pick and get the number 1 pick in this coming year draft and make the playoffs. Could you imagine that? Could you? That would be Nick-like and something that you wouldn't expect. Actually, wouldn't be Nick-like, but that's why it's something to not expect, and it could happen. And could you imagine them win? They get a top player in this year's draft. He becomes a superstar. KP's out of the league in 3 years, and the Knicks win in that draft. They completely fleece the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, that would be something if that ends up being the case. And I agree with you. I don't see Dallas really as a playoff team. Luka Doncic has had a great year. He's probably been a top 5 performance-wise player this year with what he's done. But yeah, right. That team has no depth. I don't know if I necessarily blame Carlisle for that. I think he's still doing all he can, but that team does not. Teams that are into the fold now with this Western Conference the way it's been this year. Spurs have played better. The Grizzlies, I think, are a 5 seed right now. They've played tremendously. You have your usual Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, Nuggets. I don't really see where Dallas fits into this mold right now. And because they don't have depth, they don't really have size. I mean, there's only so much you could blame on Carlisle. But yeah, this front office is
You're a coach. You're going to get fired.
Them in a couple of years.
You're a coach.
I think that would be a mistake if they fire Carlisle.
Well, mistake. The guy's been there for a long time. He's won 1 title. The last time he won a title was about 10 years ago. I mean, honestly, this team isn't playing defense. I think he lost the locker room. You're talking about Luka Doncic. You have if not the best player in the league, the top 3 player in the league. And you have Kristaps Porzingis, who's supposed to be the other guy, the second guy, who really, honestly, is not the same player when he left the New York Knicks. He can't even stay on the court. When was the last time we've seen Kristaps Porzingis since he's left the Knicks, even when he played the Knicks, play more than 70 games? And the answer is, I've never seen him play more than 70 games. So when you're talking about a guy who got a lot of money from Dallas, who Dallas traded away 2 first-round draft picks, future first-round draft picks, which, by the way, one of the first-round draft picks is this year, and it's unprotected. It is unprotected. That means if they fall into the lottery and they go all the way to the number 1, number 2, and number 3 pick, the New York Knicks get that pick. And that means with such a depthful lottery this year, and such a depthful draft, they're saying this draft has more depth than we've seen in a very long time. The Knicks could wind up, if they don't make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, they could be a lottery team. They could get 2 lottery picks in this year's draft.
Yeah, that's actually a really crazy thought to think about, especially with how bad Dallas can be in the Western Conference, which is how much talent there is. The Dallas pick may be even stronger than the Knicks pick, just because of the record-wise, the competition that they're playing. And the Knicks, again, they might be that 10th or 11th seed in the West or in the East, just missing the playoff thing. And then you're at 2 top 10 picks where that's going to be a cornerstone for the team, regardless if you try to trade the picks, maybe move up a little bit, take a second-round pick or some of the extra first-round picks they got from other trades and move up, or if they just pick from where they are. That's going to be some great cornerstones they have, because college basketball has a lot of great players now the way they're coming into the game. Now, again, the extra year eligibility, we'll see with the way they are. But you're right. This is a more deeper draft than more top heavy.
Yeah, that's why my argument, and I see what Jeff says. He says no one cares about the Knicks. I'm not talking about. I'm saying that the Knicks could have, when everybody, you go back in time and what we saw about Kristaps Porzingis and the attacks. And by the way, we're going to get him on because I know he wants this. I know he has something to say. So I don't care what you say, bud.
Press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
I don't know what the hell. Okay, come on.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
All right, Jeff, are you there?
What's up, buddy?
I heard you say that Errol sucks. I'm not saying that the New York Knicks aren't, there's nothing to talk about right now. I'm saying that when you look back a couple of years ago when the Knicks traded Kristaps Porzingis, you being one of them saying that the Knicks should have never traded him, Mikey C saying they should have never traded him because they're not going to get the value out of it. The Dallas Mavericks might not even make the playoffs. They might fall out and go right into the lottery in this year's draft with the depth that they have. And you know about this draft, Jeff. This has a lot of depth when it comes to basketball players. The Knicks could possibly get 2 lottery picks in this year's draft, one unprotected one from Dallas and their own. So what do you say about that?
No one cares about the Knicks. Dallas is making the playoffs. It doesn't matter.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
There are a lot of teams out there underperforming right now, right? So Portland very underperforming right now. You know, a lot of people thought some of these teams were going to be strong and aren't doing it. Dallas has plenty of time to get in the playoffs and they'll make it.
Mm-hmm. And what makes you so sure they're going to make it with no depth? They have no depth on their bench. They don't play defense, and they're not getting offense on the bench. And you know, if you're not getting offense on the bench, how do you expect to make it? And by the way, Portland's still a playoff team.
Right, but here's the thing, right? Because we've seen it all across the league already with trades. They'll find somebody. They'll pick somebody up. You know, New Orleans is already saying they're looking to unload J.J. Redick. That's not that J.J. Redick is the greatest player in the world, but he's certainly a player that could give them points off the bench or, be the 5th guy on the team and certainly get buckets for them. There's going to be a bunch of guys that are still going to get traded. I think Dallas will, make a move and get a guy that can put it in the net.
Again, they're in the Western Conference, and if you fall behind in the Western Conference, it's going to be very hard to pick yourself up again. And they're 8-12. They're the 3rd worst team in the Western Conference. That's not a good sign. And you're 18 game. You're 20 games into the season. You're a quarter into the season, and you're not playing good basketball. KP comes back. He's looked bad. You're hearing stories that the Dallas fans want him out of there, and quite possibly, I don't know if they're going to be able to move that contract.
Yeah, they might not be able to, but they can pick up other guys supporting pieces to help that team. Clearly, the star of that team is Doncic. He's going to be there, right? They just need to surround him with some decent guys. I think there's going to be some guys available to trade. I wouldn't worry about Dallas. I think Dallas is going to make the playoffs.
Are you surprised of how well Emmanuel Quigley is playing right now for the New York Knicks?
I mean, they're not a winning basketball team.
They don't have to be, John. Jeff, first of all, we know they're not a winning basketball team, but they're the number 1 defense in basketball when they were the worst defense in the league last year. For you to come out and say, well, nobody cares about the Knicks. Go look at every single defensive statistic. They're amongst the league's best in the top 5 in every statistic. They're not ready to win now, but they're light years better than they were last year. They're light years better than they were the last 15 years. And you taking a shot at them saying, well, nobody cares about the Knicks. It's amazing what the Knicks are doing right now with Tom Thibodeau as their head coach.
They're so amazing. You're correct.
No, I'm just telling you. How could you take shots at a team that was the worst defensive team in basketball last year to become the best defensive team in basketball this year, and nobody cares about them? That's amazing. That is amazing to go from 32nd to 1.
I need to see them do it for a season. It's easy. You just said, we're not even a quarter of the way into the season. We're almost a quarter of the way into the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's I want to see them do it over a season, an extended period of time, because the sample size is small, and some of them are playing really well right now, but you don't know if it's sustainable or not, right?
You don't think R.J. Barrett's going to be a good player? Come on. You don't think R.J. Barrett?
R.J. Barrett's doing well. Julius Randle, by the way,
it's fantastic.
Just blossomed into a terrific player, right? There are guys doing things that you should be excited about. But I want to see it done over a full season.
I don't think they're a playoff team, not yet. And I think their defense will be a top 5, top 7 defense. Tom Thibodeau won't allow it not to be a top 5 defense. Okay, I think they will be by the end of the season. They'll be a borderline playoff team. They'll probably end up as the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference. They'll be a lottery team, just like I think Dallas is. I don't like Dallas. I think Luka Doncic is fantastic. This guy is a top 3 player, top 2 player. I predicted him to win the MVP this year. I said that to Speedy. He asked me who I think is going to win the MVP this year. I thought Luka Doncic was going to win the MVP, and he quite possibly can. But this team, they're horrible. This is a horrible team, horribly built. They have no point guard play. And honestly, the guy that's playing point guard for them is Luka Doncic. They don't have any guys that can bring the ball up, and they don't rebound very well either.
You know, when you're talking about Tom Thibodeau as well, and I realize you're going to take this as me taking a shot at the Knicks, and it's not intended to be, right? But if you look at like Tom Thibodeau's history, he always does well the first season or two, and it's just about season 3, season 4, where he's the most hated guy in the room. So yes, they're much improved a Knicks team right now. They definitely are. There's no debating that, right? But at what point is the entire locker room going to be like, you know what, I hate Tom Thibodeau, get him out of here? Because it's happened everywhere he's gone.
By the way, Carl says you don't play D, you don't see the floor for Thibs. Just ask Kyle Korver. That's what he says. So I think that right now, when what you see what the Knicks are doing right now, and it's been fantastic. Yes, I think it's amazing what you've seen. Some of these, Julius Randle blossoming right now at the highest point that he is, and being that he has one more year left on his contract, and you want to get Obi Toppin into the lineup. If the Knicks were smart at the trade deadline, you should try to get the most you possibly can for Julius Randle. And I think you can absolutely fleece a team that is looking to make the playoffs right now, that wants another superstar. You can get 2 first-round draft picks for Julius Randle for the future. And I think that's
a guy you really want to part with. He's probably the best player on that team. Is that something?
Yes, because right now because you drafted Obi Toppin, and Obi Toppin has not seen the floor ever since he got hurt. I think Obi Toppin is going to be a fantastic player on this team. So do you. I know you liked Obi. And I think that when Julius Randle's out, you bring in Obi Toppin, you play him more. This team is not ready to win right now. They're not ready to win for at least 2 seasons. What I would do is make that move and try to build around some of the youth that you have. Could you imagine if the Knicks get 2 lottery picks from themselves and Dallas and get a late first-round draft pick? Could you imagine what the Knicks could do, even in possibly making a trade for a big name, a big-time player? They could bring in a superstar, maybe a Bradley Beal or somebody like that, who's honestly better than Julius Randle. And I would want a wing defender, a wing shooter as good as Bradley Beal than Julius Randle.
Yeah, I mean that could help. I mean, I feel like every year the story is the same, right? Everyone's saying, "Oh, these young guys are so good with the Knicks." These young, and then we're always talking about these young guys, and they're never really becoming anything, right? So I mean, how long can we go with And I realize you think I'm taking shots at the Knicks.
No, I don't think you're taking shots, even though sometimes I want to smack you around a couple of times.
That's legitimately the story with the Knicks, right? Like every year the story is, oh, this young guy's good. Oh, this young guy's good. We're always talking about the next young guy, and their guys never blossom into anything, right? So when are you guys going to actually land a big free agent and start building a decent team? 2 years ago we were talking about what's the wing from Kentucky they drafted? I forgot his name already.
The wing from Kentucky, the Fox?
Yes, right? I mean, he came out like gangbusters and was doing terrific. What's happened to him?
Well, Knox was a project. Every Knick fan knew he was a project. Okay, so there was no argument to that. But a guy like Emmanuel Quickley, I think Emmanuel Quickley, and they asked Emmanuel Quickley, what is your game? What player in the league reminds you of your type of game? And he said CJ McCollum. If he's anywhere close to CJ McCollum, I'll be very happy with Emmanuel Quickley. Okay, I would be very happy.
But we always see these young guys, they do good for about a half of a season. Mitchell Robinson being another one. You see these
Jeff, he's a good shooter. He's a good shooter. He's one of the best shooters to come out of college basketball this year in the SEC. What was he, a 43, 44% three-point shooter? When you're a good shooter, you're going to be successful in the NBA, especially on a top pick and roll, which Tom Thibodeau loves to play, the old-time basketball. And
college too.
I'm sorry, Speedy?
I said the best free throw shooter in college too.
So you're talking about a guy that was the SEC Player of the Year. He's a very good shooter. He's a very good free throw shooter. And right now, to me, he's leading even from Bol. All these other guys that are playing, they're playing 25, 24 minutes. He's only averaging less than 1 point more than they are, and he's playing 18 minutes a game. So you want to ask my honest opinion, who the MVP or the Rookie of the Year right now in the NBA is? It's no question. It's Emmanuel Quigley. Go look at the numbers and look at the games that he is playing in 18 minutes. He's playing 3 minutes less than every single young player right now from this draft, and he's averaging 1 point less than all of them.
Not for nothing, you're going to call me a homer and whatever, but you know who's young and doing probably better? Go look at the young kid from Oregon playing for the Celtics right now. Pritchard, he's killing it.
Yeah, he's playing, but the guy that's standing out right now, that everybody's talking about as a Rookie of the Year candidate from Ball and Edwards, the third guy right now in that list, it's not Wiseman, it's Emmanuel Quigley. Who would have thought when you talk about Obi Toppin, who got hurt, and I feel bad for the kid because we're probably not going to get a chance to see him enough this year. We're going to have to wait until next year to see this kid because he got hurt. It sucks. When you have so many good power forward threes right now on your team, you're not going to play, especially with the way that RJ Barrett's playing and Julius Randle's playing and even Mitchell Robertson's playing. You're not going to see enough on the court, and then you have the Burke kid, and you have all these guys that could shoot. You're not going to see enough. Quigley right now, to me, if the season were to end right now, I would give the Rookie of the Year, not because I'm a Knicks fan, just look at the statistics, assists, rebounds, and points per game and points per minute. I'm giving it to Emmanuel Quigley.
I don't think it's close. The Rookie of the Year is LaMelo.
He's playing like crap.
Brother is on the Hornets.
He's playing like crap. He's playing, Jeff, he's playing 26 minutes a game. He's averaging 12.5 points a game. He's averaging 6.5 assists a game, and he's averaging 5 rebounds a game. Emmanuel Quigley is averaging 11.5 points a game. He's averaging 5 assists a game, and he's averaging close to 4 or 5 assists, 4 or 5 rebounds a game. And he's playing 18 minutes, 7 or 8 minutes less than LaMelo Ball. You're telling me that LaMelo Ball is the Rookie of the Year right now? It's not even close.
He probably will be. He's getting too much time. Like, he's going to put up numbers. It's just
maybe. But honestly, I think Emmanuel Quigley is going to get more time. I really do. I think you could see the difference of the team when he's on the court. That's a different team when he's playing on the court.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same old story with the Knicks.
Nobody is saying that, Jeff. I know that's what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, you Knicks fans, the next big thing, the next big young superstar. Nobody's saying that. This is not a fluke. Are you watching this kid? He is getting better. Look what he did against Portland. Look what he did against Portland. Look what he did against C.J. Mosley and Damian Lillard defending him. He scored over 30 points. 30 points.
We said the same thing 2 seasons ago about Knox.
Oh, hold on 1 second. No, first of all, I said Kevin Knox is going to be a good 6-man on the team. That's what I said. He was going to be a good 6-man on the team.
In his rookie year, he had a stretch of basketball. He was playing.
Yeah, he won Rookie of the Week twice. I remember.
Right, but this is what I'm saying is we did that. We've done the same thing with other Knicks players. This kid's going to be really good. Look what he's doing. And I want to see it over time. I'm not knocking Quigley at all. I'm not knocking him at all. Like, I'm not saying that he's a bad basketball player and because he's a Knick, he's terrible. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just saying let's see it over an extended period of time because we've heard this story with every young Knick in recent history.
I just hate
Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah, but I hate the writers, Jeff. The writers gave the Knicks a D+, moving up from 29th to 25th to get Emmanuel Quigley. They moved all the way. Actually,
I'm not a writer.
Was it 25th or 23rd? Wherever they moved up to get Emmanuel Quigley, and all the writers said it was a D+, terrible move. This guy is a top 3 rookie right now in 25 games in the season. He's one of the best young three-point shooters in the league right now. Go look at his stats. I mean, statistically, he's going to be a very good free throw shooter. And by the way, if you're a good shooter in this league, you're going to be a good player in this league for many, many years. This guy right now in the league is averaging 41. I think he's 41% at the 3-point line. That, to me, statistics will show that number pans well for him as a successful NBA player.
Yeah, it's a shooter's league for sure. But again, I just want to see it over time. I'm not taking a shot at this kid. Let's see it for more than a month. Can we do that?
Yeah, and I know why you called up, by the way. I know why you called up. So go ahead. Speak up before we go. Go ahead. Say what you want. I know I'm waiting for it. Go ahead. The Tom Brady extravaganza over there. Go ahead.
No, listen, I'm picking the Cowboys in the Super Bowl.
The Cowboys.
I was told that this was going to be the second of 3 in a row for Dak Prescott. I'm picking the Cowboys this year. I think that they can get it done. I think that they have enough on defense. Their offense is really clicking right now. They're on a roll. I don't see how they can be stopped.
They're on a roll. The only person that's going to be playing in the Super Bowl is Tony Romo, because he's going to be doing the press coverage of it.
I mean, do you think it's wild that since 2004, Tom Brady has as many NFC championships as the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh man! And you know what's funny?
Isn't that like a wild fact? Isn't that wild? Like Tom Brady just equaled like 2 decades of Cowboy statistics.
Oh man, wouldn't it be something, man? I got to say this, and I said this to Speedy, and I'll say it again. If Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl, even though I think this is like the Peyton Manning, when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with the Broncos, I said that Peyton Manning, it wasn't because of Peyton Manning why they won the Super Bowl. The same thing with this. I don't think if Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl, it won't be because of Tom Brady. But nevertheless, he wins the Super Bowl. He wins the Super Bowl. If he wins 7,
I just want to disagree with that. I want to disagree.
Go look at the numbers. They're very similar. Very similar.
This is the same exact Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that they had last year.
No. This is a better team. Don't you dare.
Who's there?
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Listen, I don't have a list. There's at least 6 or 7 players on this team that weren't there last year, okay? There weren't. And JPP was not 100% healthy last year. He wasn't. He's beasting right now. He is beasting, okay? And Barrett is right now fighting for a contract.
Was there last year.
Yes, he was.
And Shaquille Barrett led the league in sacks last year.
I didn't say Shaquille Barrett. I said JPP. Right. And JPP was not healthy last year. He wasn't 100% healthy last year. He had turf toe last year, and he had problems with his left foot. He was not the top of player that he is right now. And by the way, they didn't have Antonio Barrett. They didn't have Antonio Brown.
They're doing it with 7 fingers. He's got 7 fingers.
I know.
Balling out.
Oh, he's killing it, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, he's the guy. He's the guy that is going to cause a huge ruckus in the Super Bowl because of Fisher being hurt and being out for this game, torn in his Achilles. I mean, it doesn't really bode well going into this Super Bowl with Kansas City, because how are they going to protect Patrick Mahomes unless they shift the line and they add maybe they play 2 tight ends at the line of scrimmage? I don't know what they're going to do.
I mean, this is legitimately what you see when you get like Tom Brady, though. When you take it, like, and listen, it could be other really good quarterbacks too. It could be Mahomes. If you would have put Mahomes on like a 500 team, this is the difference between having a quarterback and not having a quarterback. Last year, they didn't have a quarterback, and Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions.
He did.
NFL's first 30-30 guy. Right? And this is what you get when you put a capable quarterback on a decent football team. Because, okay, Gronkowski's there, but he's become more of an inline blocking tight end. He's not really lighting it up, catching passes. Yep. I mean, this team's kind of hamstrung because their best tight end has been out the whole year. O.J. Howard only played 2 games. What would this team be if they still had O.J. Howard out there? It would be unbelievable.
No, I would agree with you. I would agree with you, but again, I'm even looking at I'm looking at the numbers right now of Tom Brady's to Peyton Manning's. I'm trying to get Peyton Manning's last year when he won the Super Bowl. I'm trying to get the exact statistics of Manning,
Well,
and I'm telling
you
you,
look that up, Harold. The other thing too, Jeff, is also you have Tristan Wirfs, who was a great tackle for them in the draft. This secondary has played way better than expected, even though there are a lot of the same players. Carlton Davis has been one of the best corners in the league, and nobody saw that coming. Those safeties have played very well. That didn't happen last year either, and that's not just because of the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but those guys were still there last year, and they're just gelling as a unit just because they were a little younger last year. And by the way, very quietly, the guy that I said was the best linebacker in the draft 2 or 3 years ago, Devin White, is balling out. He's
unbelievable. He's unbelievable.
Who was the guy that you guys wanted? Jonathan Jones or something? Who was the linebacker out of Kentucky?
No, I wanted White. I think a lot of people wanted Josh Allen, and I think a lot of other people wanted either an offensive lineman.
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. The Jets got Quinn Williams, so I'm not complaining about what they got.
Quinn Williams going to be a beast.
Yeah, he is. In that defense,
is going to be a beast.
Yeah. In that defense, he will.
But
and by the way, just so everybody, just say, everybody keeps saying, I see everybody saying, how is Brady not an upgrade from Winston? I never said that he's not an upgrade from Winston. Everybody, stop taking words out of my mouth. Brady is light years better than Winston is right now. I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying that if you look at Peyton Manning's numbers, his last season going into the playoffs, and you look at Tom Brady's, they're not far from one another. They're just not. I'm not saying that Tom Brady can't play another 2-3 years as an NFL quarterback. I'm just saying that it wasn't because of Tom Brady on why they're in the Super Bowl. It's because of that freaking crazy defense, how they sacked Aaron Rodgers 10.5 times in that game. Okay?
This year is very much of the perfect example of addition by subtraction. And I don't necessarily mean a player, right? Like, even though you're going to point to one player when I say this, but this is what happens when you go from throwing 30 interceptions to throwing, what does Brady have this year? 9?
Mm-hmm. No,
when you're not turning the ball, over, when you're not a turnover machine, look what happens. You win football games.
I'm not arguing with you. And listen, everybody's going to argue, and everybody's got their own opinion of whatever Tom Brady is, and everybody knows I'm not a Tom Brady fan, but I'm not going to say anything bad. I don't think he's the greatest. I do believe this. If Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl this year, no matter what happens, I think he's the second greatest quarterback to ever play. I still think Joe Montana is the greatest of all time. So
he legit went to a team full of tuna cans and said, "You guys want to go to the Super Bowl? Let's go."
and by the way, I will argue this because I have Carl on the other side telling me that Rizzo is better than Paul Goldschmidt. Okay, Paul Goldschmidt in his career has 249 home runs, 828 RBIs. I think this is his career stats, right? And he bats. I think his average is almost 300. Let's go to Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo's career, Anthony Rizzo bats 271. He's got 229 home runs, and he has 753 RBIs. Who's better? Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, there's no argument. Anybody that's going to argue that Anthony Rizzo is better than Paul Goldschmidt, you shouldn't talk. I'm not saying Anthony Rizzo isn't good. He's not Paul Goldschmidt. Do you think he's Paul Goldschmidt?
I mean, they're both very good players. So, I mean, I'm not really going to – I mean, that's like, that's splitting hairs at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, They're both very good players. One's a power left-handed bat. One's a power right-handed bat. And I think that matters in the park, that you play in, So, I'm not so sure if you put Goldschmidt on the Cardinals or on the Cubs that he'd have the same numbers as if you put Rizzo on, the Cardinals.
You don't know. And again – I still think Paul Goldschmidt, he hits most of his home runs away anyways. He's not a home run hitter at home anyways. Go look at his numbers. He hits more home runs away than he does at home. So
they're both very good players. That's a ridiculous, the argument that we should be having is how many touchdown passes do you think Dak Prescott will have this weekend?
With his torn ACL?
Won't he? Will year won't he throw for 300 yards?
Well, it's
Will
not a
he
20.
win the Super Bowl MVP?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Speedy, weren't we both told, Speedy, that this was going to be the second of 3 straight Cowboys Super Bowls?
Yes, indeed. The second of 3 Cowboys Super Bowls was supposed to be this year, and they haven't even sniffed the playoffs.
I mean, I feel sad for the people making these predictions. Like, I'm not even upset anymore. I just feel sad for them.
Well, you only feel sad for one person. The only person that you argue with and you can't stand, and you can't stand the Cowboys, is the Beef. So the Beef is.
I texted him,
Oh yeah, what did he say? What did he say?
Oh, he never responded.
He probably blocked you.
Maybe, but I mean, I texted him right after the game on Sunday and told him I'm still picking the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. What about you?
Oh, Jeff, I miss you, man.
I mean, I miss you guys too. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable to watch the second coming of Barry Sanders be running on the Super Bowl field this week in Ezekiel Elliott. It's going to be an amazing
Or Curtis
Sunday.
Martin. He says he's better than Curtis Martin, which I think he's out of his damn mind. But anyway you put Curtis Martin in the same conversation as Ezekiel Elliott, it takes away any thought in your mind that you know what you're talking about. So I don't know.
I mean, listen, Zeke did run for more yards this year than Curtis Martin did, so maybe that's what he's going on.
Oh man, Curtis Martin. Man.
Wouldn't it be delightful to spend like one day living in his reality?
No, I sometimes tell him, but he says it's my opinion. So his opinion, it varies because it's his opinion. So he's a very interesting dude. That's for damn sure.
Well, I mean, I want to know how Mike McCarthy is going to pull this off this weekend and win a Super Bowl.
Well, I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to have much of a job after next year. I said this. I think he'll be fired after next year. I really do. I think he's. I just didn't think he was the right choice to move forward with the Cowboys. I would have given it to their cornerback coach. What's his name again? Who decided to leave the Cowboys after he was yeah, no, not Moore. Their defensive coordinator, the cornerback coach, cornerback.
Oh,
Richard. I think he should have gotten the job before McCarthy. I think that would have made more sense for the Cowboys, giving it to an in-house guy than a guy like Mike McCarthy. Let's be honest. He didn't win anything without a superstar quarterback. That's the honest truth.
Can we have an honest to goodness serious conversation about race in football? Because I honestly believe that at this point, when you look at the absolute tomato cans that got hired as coaches, how is it possible Eric Bieniemy didn't get a coaching job this year after he was the best coach in the last couple of years, the top candidate for a couple of years? How is it no one offered him a job?
I think, honestly, he's interviewed in the last 3 years for 16 or 17 jobs, I think the number was. I heard that he has not interviewed very well. That's what I heard. I mean, what people have said,
he must interview horrifically, because unless it's the interview, and I hate to do this, I don't want to do this, right? Because it's such a controversial thing, but it has to be because of race if it's not a horrible interview. Because this guy, I mean, what else could be the reason? All of we just got who's this David Cullen that just got a job in Houston? How is that possible?
Well, Bieniemy didn't want the Texans. Yeah, that's why.
But look at these tomato cans that are getting hired places.
Well, I remember. I think the number one job that Eric Bieniemy wanted was the Jets again, and the Jets decided to go with Robert Saleh because they like Robert Saleh. I mean, Eric Bieniemy was in their top 3. It was him, Arthur Smith, and Eric Bieniemy.
Listen, the Jets aside, because I think Robert Saleh is. I mean, again, you're talking about a coordinator that's been kicked around as a head coaching candidate now for a couple of years. Yep. So I have nothing against Rob. I mean, that's 1A and 1B kind of situation, right? Good for Robert Saleh for getting the job, right? congrats. But David Cullen, right? Like the Giants, and I think, I think Joe Judge has done a good job, but Joe Judge came swinging down from the rafters to steal that Giants job somehow. He's a special teams coach, and somehow Eric Bieniemy can't get a job.
I was very surprised. I told Speedy this. I've talked, when we had Josh on the Weekend Crunch, I said that it made no sense how Eric Bieniemy doesn't have a job. And I do believe that, in the long run, at the end of next year, somebody will give him a job. I just think that the jobs that were available, he didn't want the Lions job. That came out. He definitely didn't want the Texans job, even though he went for the interview. He didn't want that job. And there were just a couple of jobs that he didn't want. And Indianapolis, if they don't make the playoffs next year or they don't find a quarterback, Frank Reich could be out of a job. So I could see that a hot spot for Eric Bieniemy. And also Sean McVay. If this team doesn't win the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, and I believe this, after all the first-round draft picks they traded away, I believe that if they don't make the Super Bowl next year, Sean McVay will be fired. I believe that. He will be fired.
Two more to watch out for, too, is Arizona and with Cliff Kingsbury. He was kind of on the hot seat this year. And Minnesota for Mike Zimmer. I've said this for a while. I think this is Zimmer's last chance with that defense because it's his draft picks.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the Cardinals are going to be a team to watch, so I wouldn't worry about Kingsbury's job. I think if you look at what the Cardinals have done since Kingsbury has gotten there, they've improved every year. They went from a 1-win team to, a 4-win team, and then this year they were an 8-win team. Mm-hmm. That's continual and good progress for a team that had 1 win 3 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be really interesting to see where Eric Bieniemy eventually will get a job. It's not surprising that it's been 3 years he's been interviewing for a job, and it has come out from the league that Eric Bieniemy has not interviewed very well for these positions. And if you're not
I honestly don't care about interviews. I don't care about interviews.
I agree with you.
But like the dude has showed when it comes to X's and O's. Because honestly, other than Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, it's not like the Chiefs are filled with stars on that team. Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman and the fragile Sammy Watkins. Like, these guys aren't superstars. He's being creative the way he gets the ball into Tyreek Hill. When it comes to X's and O's, show me someone better than Bieniemy.
I agree with you.
I couldn't give 2 shits about the interview. He's a terrific football coach.
No, he is. And he's going to get a job. I just think that a lot of these owners and these GMs, they look at the interview and they variate what these guys are saying when they're asking them questions. And maybe Eric Bieniemy is not giving them the answers that they're looking for. Maybe not. Maybe Eric Bieniemy is just right now he's waiting for the proper and the right job that falls into his lap that he wants. And Indianapolis is a team. I'm telling you, if Frank Reich does not get into the playoffs next year and make a run in the playoffs, Frank Reich is going to be fired next year. Kingsbury is another guy. I think Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is going to be a great player.
Indianapolis needs to figure out what they're doing at quarterback before we all start going. Frank, listen, if they have to go into next season with Jacoby Brissett, how are you going to hold that against Frank Reich? They got to get him a quarterback before you can say he's doing a bad job.
No, I think they gave up a lot for Buckner, and I think they're ready to win now. They're going to make a move for a quarterback this offseason. I don't know who they're going to go after. Sam Darnold seems like he's a hot name right now because of the whole DeShaun Watson situation. And DeShaun has already come out and said that he only wants to play for 2 teams, Miami and the Jets. If the Jets make a move and they get him, Sam Darnold's going to be a good piece to daggle for teams that'll be interested in getting him. So the Saints are a team that's definitely going to make a run for him. I could see Indianapolis making a run for him. There's quite a few teams there are a lot of teams looking for a quarterback. So Sam could go to a good organization, a very well run organization, offensive organization where Sam could absolutely flourish for that organization. I think the Saints would be the perfect place for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I don't know if the Saints are even going to make a move. Like, I think they're, you can debate whether you think it's the right move or the wrong move, but I think they're going to give Taysom Hill the shot to be the long-term guy.
It's going to, it's going to be very, very interesting. And again, I look at the whole Bieniemy thing. I'm not making any excuses of where why he didn't get a job. I do believe that he's going to wait for the right job to fall into his lap. He didn't want the Texan job. He didn't want the Lions job. He didn't want any of these jobs that were available this offseason, even the Chargers job. He wasn't interested in. And there were stories coming out that he was not interested in the Chargers job. The only job that I think he was interested in was the Jets job. And again, the Jets interviewed him and were not interested in him. They wanted, well, he was a third runner-up. It was Robert Saleh, Arthur Smith, Eric Bieniemy. That's what I heard. And Robert Saleh was a foregone conclusion. Everybody asked me after Robert Saleh, when you heard the Zoom conversation that he had, everybody asked me, who do you think? I was on 2 radio shows, and they asked me, who do you think is the next head coach of the New York Jets? I said, you can't argue the point of what you've been hearing and what the writers have been saying. It's going to be Robert Saleh. And it did. I'm not saying I was right, but I'm just saying that it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to get the job. Jeff.
Here's the thing for me about Robert Saleh, and I know that you're going to think, again, don't take this.
I'm not taking anything. I don't really.
Because
your opinion.
He's a terrific football coach, but it always seems to me that the Jets go defense. Like, okay, they tried to go offense, I guess, with Gase, but they should be trying to go offense. Their defense is much better than their offense. I don't understand this whole thinking of Saleh's a defensive guy. You got Darnold there, or you're going to draft another young quarterback. Who's the offensive guy that's going to be able to teach these young guys how to play football? That was it for me. Is I just didn't understand why they went with a defensive coach rather than an offense.
Well, remember he was when he played college ball, he was a tight end. He's not only a defensive mind, he is an offensive minded guy. He wants to coach a team, and I think Mike LaFleur is going to flourish. A lot of people think he's the next up and coming offensive mind. In the NFL. I'm not a Kyle Shanahan guy. Everybody knows I'm not a Kyle Shanahan guy, but his tree of, as far as Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, and now Mike LaFleur, all these guys have become successful in the NFL as offensive-minded guys. So why wouldn't Mike LaFleur be successful as the offensive coordinator for the New York Jets, especially when they're a run-first team? So,
yeah. I don't know. I just, when I look at what they're going to be working with, because if they're not moving on from Sam Darnold, then, I guess that's the $1 million question, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter whether they move on from him or don't move on from him. They're still going to have a young quarterback leading that team. And that's why I just don't understand the whole, go and find someone that can work with these young quarterbacks. That was the only thing for me.
If they get DeShaun,
Saleh is not going to be
No, if they get DeShaun, if they get DeShaun Watson, it changes everything for the Jets. It changes everything for the Jets because then you're getting a top 5 quarterback in the NFL who's in the prime of his career. He's 25, 26. He's going to be 26 this year. You're getting a prime top end quarterback that, by the way, didn't throw to anybody and led the league in yards. Okay, so you're looking at any completion percentage. He was second in the league in completion percentage, right behind Aaron Rodgers. So when you talk about a guy like that, if they somehow, I don't think it's going to happen. A lot of Jet fans want to hope it happens. I don't know if the Jets are going to be willing to give up as much as the Texans are going to want to get DeShaun Watson. But if they do get DeShaun Watson on a pretty good deal, the Jets position themselves in a very good position in a division that is very winnable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't hate the way, I don't think the Jets can really lose in what they do. You can justify any decision that they're going to make, right? Like if you say, oh, they're going to keep Sam Darnold, well then fine, let's draft Darnold some help. I think that's what they should do, is just keep their draft picks and fill the holes that they got and do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't understand giving up 2-3 first-round picks for a quarterback, and then he's going to get there, and you'd basically be the Northern Texans, where they don't have anyone to throw to.
No, you're right. You're right.
So that's why I'm just hey, listen, if you still believe a little bit in Sam Darnold, well, then let's do this. Let's believe in him a little bit.
I think so too. But if you can get a player of that magnitude, a DeShaun Watson in the prime of his career, when usually you don't get a quarterback in the prime of their career to want to be pushed out and go to a team, an organization has been looking for a quarterback for about 50 years and never landed one. And they have an opportunity to get a talented quarterback as good as DeShaun Watson. You can't really argue that point. And as much as I love Sam, and I still think Sam could be a franchise quarterback, especially for this organization. I just think he needs the right coach. And I think Robert Saleh is going to be a guy that's going to absolutely help a guy like Sam Darnold. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Sam Darnold's not going to be a part of this organization moving forward. Every single thing that Robert Saleh said in his interviews the last couple of days it tells me that there's no sure thing that Sam Darnold's going to be there. So usually a coach says, Sam's our quarterback. Sam's the guy that we're moving forward with. We're very excited. We did not hear that with Robert Saleh. He said that if Sam's still here or he's still a part of this organization, he's going to get every opportunity to be successful here. He did not say that Sam's going to be here. So that tells me that the Jets are looking elsewhere at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, that's very well the case. I mean, just for me, I just believe the Jets should be building a team like the Bills did and do it mostly through the draft and just be patient and just keep building your team and eventually you'll be pretty strong. You might be a year, 2, 3 years away, but it doesn't look like the Bills are going away anytime soon. They drafted a young quarterback they like and it's working. And, you know, they were successful this year. And I think if you got some pieces to put around Darnold, he could be as successful, if not more, than Josh Allen has been.
I think so too. I think he's got just as much or more talent than Josh Allen. And I think if the Jets trade him and he goes somewhere else, I think he's going to be very, very successful. So I'm not really worried about where Sam's going to go. If Sam stays with the Jets, he'll be successful. I think Robert Saleh will give him the best opportunity to succeed, but I think he's done with the Jets. I really do.
I mean, I think it's sad when you see a guy like Darnold who has talent. He really hasn't been given a fair chance, you know? Like,
nope. I agree with
that
you.
That offensive line has been atrocious, like terrible, you know? So you keep that pick, you draft Penei Sewell, you shore up your offensive line, you give him a little bit of time to see what he can do. And with, you know, do they have the Seahawks pick at the end of this round?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then find a receiver there to play opposite Denzel Mims with Crowd. I think you really could be working with something.
It is. It's definitely something that the Jets are going to be going to have to make a decision after the Super Bowl. I do believe that DeShaun Watson will be traded. I think there's only 2 teams he's going to. I do not want to see DeShaun Watson in Miami. Okay. As a Jet fan, I do not want to play DeShaun Watson twice a year and then I have to play Josh Allen twice a year. Oh, and by the way, who knows what the Patriots are going to do this year? They can squeak in and probably bring maybe Trey Lance, or maybe they bring in a veteran quarterback and maybe make a trade for a veteran quarterback. I could see the Patriots doing that too and bring in a veteran quarterback. So there's so many things.
Give me the young guy.
Well, I know you want Trey Lance, but it's going to be very, very interesting what's going to happen. That division could be.
I'd rather have Trevor.
That division could go down as one of.
But that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. That's no question, but that's not going to happen. But the thought is that just think. If the Patriots get a quarterback, you're talking about from one of the worst divisions in football to one of the best divisions in football when you talk about the quarterback plays. You know, if you add DeShaun Watson to the Jets or Miami, Josh Allen, and then it's just crazy. It's crazy what could happen in the next couple of years in that division in the AFC East, which was very winnable for the New England Patriots. It's not going to be that easy anymore. So it's going to be interesting. Thanks, Jeff.
So who's your pick? Who's both of your picks for the Super Bowl?
Both of my picks for the Super Bowl this year?
Well, Speedy too. Well, yeah. I mean, in the pretend bowl, I'm taking the Cowboys, but in the real one, I think I'm going to take the Buccaneers.
I'm not going to make my pick until the weekend crunch, but I will say this: the way JPP and Barrett played and losing your starting left tackle going into the Super Bowl, it doesn't bode well for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. So that's all I'm going to say about that. It doesn't bode well. As good as Patrick Mahomes is and how good their offense is, and I think Andy Reid is the best offensive mind in football, it doesn't bode well when you've lost 2 starting offensive linemen throughout the playoffs, and now you're going into the Super Bowl against JPP and Shaq Barrett, that's trying to prove a big contract either from Tampa or somebody else, maybe the New York Jets in the offseason. So it's going to be very, very interesting moving forward for the Super Bowl. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'm leaning Tampa as well, Jeff, just because for a reason, I think Chiefs are too high. I haven't lost a legitimate game since week 5. I think they're due at some point. The Browns definitely exposed them in some areas, I think, in that playoff game. And I think Tampa can do a lot of the same with the tight end play they have with the 2 running backs with Jones and Fournette. And Jones hasn't played in a while, and I think he could have a sneaky good role with that team. I'm actually leaning towards Tampa as well.
That's right. Tom Brady's the greatest. Not one mention of Tom Brady just winning. Just wins. He just wins.
All right.
Think
Jeff,
about
thank you.
Think about the greatest run to a Super Bowl you've ever seen so far, where the dude went on the road to open the playoffs, and they beat and then he goes on the road and beats Drew Brees. And
he went on the road and played like crap against Drew Brees. He played crap against Aaron Rodgers, and he still got to the Super Bowl. It's only Tom Brady's luck that he goes to the Super Bowl against 2 quarterbacks. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers played good. He just didn't make the plays at the end of the game. And by the way, JPP was all over the place in the 4th quarter. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Jeff, thank you.
Gentlemen, always a pleasure. If you talk to that rat prick, you tell him I think he sucks.
Jeff from Tampa. Anyways, that's it for our show. We went on for an extra 42 minutes. Jeff from Tampa. I miss that guy. I really do. Good insight. Thank you, Jeff. And by the way, Carl, as much as I love you, you can keep saying the Jets will go 1-5 in the division. How could you say the Jets are going to go 1-5? You don't even know who their quarterback's going to be next year. So how could you say they're going to be 1-5 in that division? So again, it makes no sense. They could have beaten Buffalo in both games this year. Both games. So I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back on Wednesday. Remember, you can listen to all our shows by going to our app, iOS, WWSRN, Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, do you have anything to say before we go?
Yes, everybody stay safe during the storm. I know it's bigger for a lot of people than others, but stay safe, everybody. Hopefully you end up getting to go wherever you want to go or do what you want to do for the Super Bowl. But everyone across the country, wherever you are, stay
on
safe.
Wednesday. The snow's going to stop before at the end of Tuesday, so it'll be fine. Super Bowl will be all ready to go. Everybody will be ready to go and drive to wherever they need to go in the snow and make their snowmans or whatever they're going to make in the snow. So good luck on that. We will be back on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. A shout out to Chris DeBacker, the DFS cheat sheet content contributor that was on our show at 6:15 or 6:30 and at 7:15. I'd like to thank the founder of Fantasy Six Pack, Joe Bond, that joined us. Jeff, Mike Geiger for Grieger, who joined us. Interesting takes on everything that's gone on in the last couple of days in trades and everything else. We will be back on Wednesday. Until then, this is Errol Marks, Speedy Petey saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement.